Okay, chat. So one of the things I want to do on stream today is there was this interview that was done with Don Lemon and Elon Musk. And I decided, why don't we go ahead and react to this on stream today? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring this up. Let me go ahead and bring it up on the stream for you guys. This is the interview in question here. I have not watched this yet. I have heard a lot of people have been reacting to this and giving their thoughts. I have not watched this yet. I saved it for the stream with you guys. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to check this out. So without further ado,
play that shit.
Here we go.
Welcome to the Don Lemon Show, everyone. We're still here. In a minute, I'm going to bring you my conversation with Elon Musk. The one that
One thing that's interesting about this is apparently like Elon Musk got so salty about how this interview went that like my understanding is that they had like Don Lemon had like a deal with X Twitter. Okay. Don Lemon had a deal with X to basically like, I guess, host his show on X or something. There was some kind of partnership deal. I'm not sure of the details or whatever, but Elon got so pissed off about this interview that he kind of was like a crybaby bitch and canceled the partnership. Like, what a little crybaby. How mad do you have to get about a fucking interview that you cancel a business deal over it? Yo, is that the Saliva in chat? Yo, what's up, Saliva? How you doing? Welcome to the stream. All right, here we go.
everyone is talking about. But first, let me tell you a bit about the show. Contrary to what you might have heard, we weren't canceled by X. Yes, after months of begging me, wooing me to offer some exclusive content on his platform, Elon Musk decided to scrap the deal. But our plan is, and always has been, to release this show everywhere. On YouTube, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio.
This, like, statement right here, there's so much shade. He's throwing so much shade at Elon right now. This is pretty funny.
Just about any place you stream content. Now for my conversation with Elon. As with all my interviews, no restrictions, no ground rules, nothing off limits or out of bounds. That is until the interview ended. So what went wrong? I don't know.
Thanks for the sub, you
But my hope is that you learn.
Thank you.
Zalavnia joined the Kuma Nation.
Thank you to whoever the anonymous donator was. Thank you very much. And I'm sure Saliva appreciates that.
Learn something about both Elon and me. Two people who come from completely different vantage points on almost every single issue. And I challenge you, Elon, to watch the whole interview and tell the world why this isn't what you claim you want on X.
Thank you for inviting us here.
You're welcome.
Your Tesla headquarters. I'm surprised at how big it is. I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's about 3 times the size of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And we built it in 16 months. It's the fastest construction project in the United States since World War II.
So I'm here, you know.
Wait. Don't tell me that those stinger transitions happen every time the scene changes on this, because that's really fucking annoying.
You know, I'm on the platform because you say you're a free speech absolutely.
They do? No! No! That is so fucking annoying! Who runs this guy's show? Don't do that, okay? If I could submit any feedback for Don Lemon's show, stop that shit, please! Watched this last night on RBJ. Oh, God. Riverboat Jack said the same. Oh, my God. That's so annoying.
That's right, man. No conditions.
Yeah. Free speech is as much as possible within the bounds.
Oh, we got Saliva in chat. I'm going to have to add a, Corba spinning emote just for Saliva. I'm going to have to do that. Remind me to do that, admins.
Yeah. So the reason I'm saying that is because there are no conditions on this interview. You said that, we'll speak to you for an hour. I don't like sound bites, so I welcome that.
Yeah, we need a Torpa spin. Does anybody know how to make the Borpa spinning, but do a Torpa spin? That's what we need.
So let's get into it. So we're here in Austin. South by Southwest is going on. We're at the Tesla headquarters. You are in the process of moving SpaceX here, I understand?
No. SpaceX has a massive facility in South Texas where we build and launch Starship. And then we have in Bastrop near Austin,
What has happened to him in like recent months or years? Like, if you've ever seen him do like a speaking engagement publicly, he actually used to be a very like good, coherent public speaker. Okay, like when he would say things, like there wasn't all this like stuttering and hums and uhs and stuff that he does now. What happened? I don't. Did he just like rot brain cells over the course of the past year or two?
are about to start production at a Starlink, a large Starlink factory for Starlink terminals. But it's but we're not shutting down any facilities in California.
I have one question though, chat. Is this interview as bad as the one he did at that live event where like he was clearly under the influence of some kind of substance? Like the one where he told advertisers to fuck off and so, is this one worse than that one? Because that one was pretty fucking bad. Transgirl Jade is saying this one's worse. Oh no.
Listen, we are here as part of a launch of a news interview show that is going to be on X.com. It's coming as the media industry, as you know, is going through a whole lot.
Wait, does my pause? Oh, sweet. My pause play button on my Stream Deck works again. Let's fucking go. I don't have to like move the mouse over and accidentally click on something like my boomer ass tends to do sometimes. Anyway, let's continue.
Changes. X has also been affected by that. Where do you see X.com's role in the future of news and journalism, Elon?
Well, I think I see the X as it's already the #1 source of news in the world. So it is #1.
Today, Junior.
Yeah, the #1 way that people actually are informed about any kind of news, meaning real-time events, is on the X platform, formerly Twitter. There's nothing even close for real-time news. So we also want to expand upon that, and we have done so with long-form content. So instead of just doing what used to be called tweets, you can now do long-form posts. You can post an entire essay. In fact, you can now put an entire book, post an entire book to the platform. You can do long-form video content.
I will say the article feature is kind of cool. Like, it almost feels like with the article feature, they're trying to go after services like Medium, for example. It's kind of neat. I honestly don't see myself using that feature all that much, but I will give credit where credit is due. The whole articles thing on Twitter does seem pretty interesting. And I am interested to see how people intend to use that.
So you can do up to 4-hour video segments. We really want news in whatever form it is.
I don't understand the whole pushing video and like streaming on Twitter though, because like, I'm sorry, like there's certain platforms that can branch out to do other things and it kind of like makes sense, right? But like when I think of a platform like let's use Facebook, for example, right? Facebook, as much as like it's kind of a boomer platform now, not a whole lot of people use it outside of like keeping in touch with family and stuff. But like, you know, back in the day when Facebook, because of the way the site's structured, when they're like, oh, by the way, we're going to allow you to upload video to the site now, at least like that to me kind of like made sense. It's like, okay, I could see myself, you know, going on Facebook and watching video. But when I think of a platform like Twitter that started as like a microblogging service, when you tell me like, oh, I want you to watch videos on Twitter and I want you to watch live streams on Twitter, like it doesn't seem like a platform that's well suited for that sort of thing. Like, am I wrong or am I just weird? It's because the long form video content, you can push more expensive video ads. Like, I get the logic behind it from, you know, X or Twitter's like perspective. Like, it's a good money making opportunity. But like from a user perspective, when I think of Twitter, I don't think of video. Like when I think of videos that are on Twitter, I think of the kind of video that like, you know, you watch it for like a few seconds. It's like a little meme video or something. I don't think, like, I'm not going to sit down and watch a video essay by, say, Jesse Gender or someone like that on Twitter. Okay? Like, that's what YouTube is for. But anyway.
Information, I should say, in whatever form it is, to be available on our platform, whether it's short, long, text, pictures, video, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that we do, long-form video, interview shows, what have you.
Yeah.
You reached out over the summer and you said it would be great to have Maddo, Don Lemon, others on the left put on this platform.
Kana in the chat says the term Twitter video immediately makes me think of something that's 10 to 20 seconds, maybe 30 at most, really. Yeah, exactly. But also, you did forget, it's not called Twitter video anymore. It's called X videos now. X videos. You know, as if there's not another steamy website that already has a name like that. Not that one, but a competitor to that one.
You receive full support. The digital town square is for all. What do you mean by that?
Well, I just mean that we want to make sure that there are a wide variety of viewpoints. That it's, we always have, for example, Tucker Carlson, who most people will view as being on the right.
No, most people don't view Tucker Carlson as being on the right. Tucker Carlson is on the right. Like, let's not mince words here.
Yeah, that's quite a prominent name on the right. We want to have prominent names on the left as well to provide different points of view, as well.
Oh my God, Jazz Dog said Elon got a new animal mascot for Twitter. His name is X Hamster. Oh God. Oh shit! Oh shit! That's a good one. That's a really, really good one. Holy shit.
Centrist, just basically a wide range of viewpoints on the platform, so users can hear different opinions. They can hear.
So this is such bullshit, right? Because he's talking about how he wants to, make Twitter or X a free speech platform, and he wants to allow a wide range of, opinions on the platform and stuff like that. Wasn't this the same guy who, for a brief moment in time, outlawed the use of the term cis on the platform because he considered it a slur? Like, I'm sorry, but like, that doesn't sound like the actions of someone who wants to allow views from various different backgrounds on their platform. Come on.
Fucking pronouns!
What's your point of view? What's Tucker's point of view? And people can make their own decision about what they believe.
You didn't mean that I'm on the left? Did you think that?
I thought you were on the left, but yeah. I don't know. Well, let's just say I don't know what the left is or the right is, frankly, these days, because things can be quite polarized. But my impression was that you're more likely to be described as on the left than the right. My sense is you're sort of center left. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, did you ever watch me on?
It's always interesting, right, to see like a representative of like a company like make such a strong position with their like political opinions, because typically when you see someone who is like a corporate representative, like a CEO or like an entrepreneur or something like that, it's in their best interests to keep their politics like close to the vest, right? Excuse me. It's in their best interest to keep their politics close to the vest because they don't want to alienate any potential customers, right? So like he runs like Tesla, for example. Normally you wouldn't want to express your political opinions because, if they contradict the political opinions of potential customers, then you could alienate potential buyers, right? And so it's one of those things where normally you see a lot of like CEOs of big companies and stuff, they won't discuss this stuff because it's in their best interest not to discuss it. And to see him like come out as such a like, very vocal member of the right, it's very different than what you typically see from a lot of companies these days and representatives of various different companies.
CNN, did you watch?
I saw I saw segments. But CNN is generally considered left.
Yeah. Why do you say
that? Why do I say CNN is generally considered left? I think if you look at any sort of media survey of what is on the left or right, I think they would say, like, for example, Fox.
He's already so flustered. We're only 5.5 minutes into this video, and he's already so flustered. Oh, God, this is not going well.
Is on the right. And CNN is on the left.
Yeah. So that's what is it?
Am I missing something here?
Okay. Are you missing something? I don't know. I think that
was such a fake laugh. That was one of those like forced, like uncomfortable laughs. Oh my God. He's so hot under the collar. Somebody says he's coping. Look, it's a little too soon to go with the cope. All right. I mean, if you got the channel points, you can do it. But I think it's a little soon to go with the cope. We're only about 5.5 minutes in.
But when I read that, I said, like many of my critics or detractors, they never really watched me on CNN. They just saw the clips of me either on social media or maybe on Fox News or in conservative media, where it's sort of where I've become a character or a caricature of what I actually am, and it's taken out of context.
Sure. Well, how would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as someone who is, I am independent in my thinking, and I vote based on the issues and how I feel about it, not necessarily because of political leaning of some sort.
Well, I agree with that approach. I think that's generally how people should take things, which is, I mean, there are a whole sort of set of issues which are sort of somewhat arbitrarily bucketed into right or left. But most citizens would think that they would agree with some things on the left, but not everything, or they agree on some things on the right, but not everything.
Vosh does it through White Forest, his White Leaf site, which when we get one, I'll be able to do it through that as well. But for now, we're on Twitch, so I got to figure out how to do it with Twitch.
That's what I think most people feel, I guess.
How much longer, and maybe the answer is forever, how much longer are we going to have to call it the formerly known as Twitter? I mean, even Prince went back to Prince instead of, is it always going to be X?
It's definitely always going to be X.
So X is going through...
He's really stubborn about that. I don't understand why you would throw years of, like, desirable branding away, okay? Like, with Twitter, it wasn't just the name of the company. Like, there was literally, like, verbs associated with the brand. Like, when you said tweet, people knew what that meant. They knew what it meant to make a tweet and, like, to quote tweet and retweet, and, like, all these things were, like... as stupid as it sounds, they were like a cultural like trend that everybody was aware of, and it was associated with the Twitter brand. Why would you throw all of that branding out of the fucking window just to give a company a cringy name like X? Like, this isn't the 90s. You remember in the 90s when everything had to have an X in the name? Like, it had to be like Extreme, not spelled extreme the way it normally was. It was just X-stream. And like everything had to have an X in the name. Like, is he like stuck in the 90s? Like, with the naming of this shit? I don't understand. It's very weird.
Changes. I said a lot of media companies are going through some changes. You're in charge of an incredible platform, Elon. How do you feel that's going?
I think it's going pretty well so far. We're seeing record usage. We've added a tremendous amount of functionality. I mentioned that it used to be that you could only do short text and maybe a picture or something like that, short video. But now you can do long form text, long form video. We've added audio video calling. So you can
like I like the long form text thing. It sucks that it's behind a paywall. That you can do like extended tweets or whatever. Like, that was one of the things that there was this one Twitter alternative that I used for a while called Minds. I stopped using it mainly because it got overrun by all the worst people on the internet. But I used to like Minds because it was like Twitter, but it was like longer form posts. So I like that. But having said that, it's locked behind a paywall, so you have to pay them money to use that stuff. And also, again, I don't understand why you would want to watch long form video on Twitter. I don't get it. Okay, so I got lunch. You guys are gonna, watch me eat like a fat fuck. We're gonna go full Twitch streamer mode, eating while we react. So you get to watch my fat ass eat. You're ordering Subway. What do you get at Subway? For the record, Subway sucks. But there are a handful of things at Subway that are actually pretty decent. Like, I enjoy their tuna. And don't tell me the bullshit about the fake fucking tuna that's already been debunked. But, like, I don't know what it is. Their tuna is actually pretty good. Fuck you, I like Subway. Subway sucks. Like, once you've had a good place, like Jersey Mike's or like Jimmy John's, like, Subway fucking sucks. Now, granted, those places are a little bit more expensive than Subway, obviously. But yes, Subway fucking sucks. Anyway, let's get back to this fucking interview.
Not just do text DMs, you can do audio video calling. We've improved the algorithm, I think, significantly.
By the way, doing calls on Twitter via Twitter DMs was the stupidest fucking idea. I don't care who the fuck you are. Don't you ever call me on Twitter. If you try to call me on Twitter, I will never answer. So don't even try.
And made the system faster and better, and that's reflected in the increased usage.
So let's talk about that, because you said you wanted all points of view, right? It's a digital town square for all.
Yeah.
It's the platform has kind of picked up where conservative media,
No, bitch. Look, Dopamine, I love you. You're like one of my besties, one of my fucking oomfies and whatnot, but I don't give a fuck. If you call me on Twitter, I will not answer. I have my phone right now. Try me, bitch. Try me. I will not answer it.
conservative media that's left off, that moving to the right, increasingly becoming part of a conservative dialogue, and sometimes even conspiracy theories, right? There was an article recently written about you saying that you, Donald Trump, and X were the most important people or places or whatever icons when it comes to the MAGA movement. Do you agree with that? How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, there are nonsense articles written all the time, and I certainly wouldn't agree with that one. I put in.
Can this guy like suck Donald Trump's dick any harder? Like seriously, like he is literally like guzzling Donald Trump's cum.
I'm gonna come.
The nonsense category. So, the objective fact of the matter, in my opinion, was that old Twitter was fundamentally a tool of the far left. And that was really, I think, a lot of it was due to being located in San Francisco, Berkeley, and so it wanted to essentially project the SF Berkeley political dogma worldwide.
You think it was far left?
Yes, I do.
I used to get
Dopamine, it's funny because I was actually prepared for you to call and I was going to answer it, and I don't know what I was going to do, but I was going to do something.
I actually got off the platform because I would get so much hate tweets when it was called in, so much hate tweets and just guff from right-wing conspiracy theorists being called everything from, fag to...
Sure.
Whoa! Whoa, hey, you guys could have warned me that this kind of language was... Twitch, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. Wait, what? Hold on. I'm getting a call from Chasing Dopamine. Oh, how does this... Hello? Hello? Are you there? I'm a boomer. I don't know how this works. Whatever. I can't hear you. That went so well. Okay. Don't get mad at me, Twitch. I did not know these words were being used. Well, he has the pass though, right? I'm pretty sure he has the pass, so I think it's allowed.
Yeah, it's the internet. That people will do.
Wait, so that was his answer to like hate speech being prominent on his platform, is that it's just the internet? It's just the internet, so it's okay. And it's true. Like if you look at like there's actual metrics that have been done that show like the amount of hate speech that has like upticked on like the platform. Like it's insane. Like there's been so much increases in hate speech on the platform. Jesus, he just needed a cigarette. Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. Twitch people, he was asking for a cigarette and they did this interview in the UK. It's true.
I mean, I've been called every name times 1,000.
Yeah. Do you agree that it's right now and that even it's moved into sort of MAGA land or conspiracy theory?
I certainly don't think it's right. The old school Twitter.
But the problem is you built a platform that allowed this to happen. Like I understand, like, it's not like I'm anti, free speech or anything like that. I'm very much in favor of free speech, but there are a reason why other platforms have strict rules against hate speech, because it's fucked up. Okay. And like now your platform has become a safe haven, for legitimately hateful and bigoted people. And that's on you. All right, that's your doing.
Suspended and suppressed accounts that you'd call on the right 10 times more than they did accounts on the left. And even when they did suspend an account on the left, it was because of arguments between two people on the left. The political donations of old Twitter were 99% Democrat. Does that sound left-wing or right-wing to you?
The Twitter donations?
Yes. You know when they look at donations from a company? If a company donates literally 99% of all donations are to Democrats, does that strike you as a left-leaning or a right-leaning?
So that doesn't, what does that matter? We're asking about hate speech on the platform, and your response is, well, you know, Democrats give more money through X, and it's like, so that doesn't take away from the fact that hate speech is a very prominent thing on your platform. Like, I understand the point he's trying to make is that, like, well, you're trying to make it out like this is a heavily right-wing used platform, and obviously there's, you know, a decent amount of left-wingers on here because they give the most donations. So I understand the point he's trying to make, but it doesn't take away from the criticism that you are allowing hate speech to thrive on your platform. This is just like it's just like a bullshit fucking, you're just trying to fucking, just like hand wave away what you're being asked.
You mean the company donated? I understand what you're saying.
What I'm trying to tell you is that Twitter employees, people at Twitter, their political donations were 99%, literally 99%, to Democrats. That's obviously an extremely left-leaning group.
My question, too, leading into this is about MAGA.
You got a roast in the oven? I'm coming over for dinner. Completely uninvited. I'm just going to show up.
You, and speaking of MAGA, you recently met with Donald Trump in Florida. What did you guys talk about?
I was at a dinner. I was not done. I was at a breakfast at a friend's place, and Donald Trump came by. That's it.
So you didn't go there to meet him?
No, I went to a friend of mine's house, and it said Donald Trump's coming by for breakfast. Is that just so you know? Like, okay, fine.
What did you discuss?
I don't. Let's just say he did most of the talking.
What did you say?
The normal things he says. There was nothing particularly groundbreaking or new, but he
got very uncomfortable about that question. And I mean, to be fair, like asking, you know, about somebody's private conversation, I can understand how that would make you uncomfortable. But yeah, he got really, really, as Funny Haha in the chat says, bro's flabbergasted by that question. Yeah, true.
You know, President Trump likes to talk. And so he talked. I don't recall him saying anything that he hasn't said publicly. And that was it. It was just a breakfast.
Did he ask you for money?
He didn't.
Did he ask you for a donation?
No.
He didn't.
No.
You said you're not going to donate to any candidate.
That's correct.
Why not?
I think while
I kind of wish I still had the dial-up sound on my soundboard. I used to have like a dial-up sound. Actually, you know what? I can go ahead and play it like this because like that was like his brain right there. It was literally like he was stuck on dial-up. Where's my dial-up sound at? Here we go. Here we go. That was his brain. That's Elon's brain on that question.
I'll voice my opinion. I think I don't want to put a thumb on the scale monetarily. That is, you know, significant.
Are you going to loan him money to help pay his bill?
Tipster, are you trying to trigger me with the dial-up noise shit? No, but I probably did trigger everybody who got, you know, Elon's, what is it called? Neuralink put into their brain? I'm pretty sure that fucking set off something in their brain because of his crazy Neuralink experiments.
Bills?
No,
Not at all.
Hey, Lux, how's it going?
His legal bills.
I'm not paying his legal bills in any way, shape, or form.
And he did not ask you for money.
And he did not ask me for money.
Are you going to, so you're not going to endorse a candidate?
I may, in the final stretch, endorse a candidate, but I don't know yet. I want to make a considered decision before the election, and if I do decide to endorse a candidate, then I will.
Lux says, I fucking hate his face. He's so ugly. Yo, like, what is it about? Like, I have to ask myself this question too, but like, what is it about this guy that so many people looked up to? Like, I will admit, there was a time when I was a Elon Musk. I wouldn't go as far as to say I was a fanboy, but I did, like, you know, I was a fan of the Tesla cars. I was a fan of some of the work that he's done in the past and stuff like that. I used to think he was a pretty smart guy, you know, a pretty visionary guy or whatever. In fact, when he was initially, when he first started talking about the idea of buying Twitter, and I'm not talking about like before he actually bought it. Years ago, he started talking about, you know, somebody needed to take over Twitter, and he was like, you know, playing with the idea of doing it. I used to think that that was a good idea. And I was like, yo, like if anybody can fix Twitter, it would be Elon. I used to be one of those guys, right? And then he like did it, and I was like, he fooled us all. We were all fucking, like, anybody that believed that he was going to do good things for Twitter, we were all fucking clowns. Like, I'm not afraid to admit that. That was a really stupid thing to think.
Explain exactly why.
Are you leaning towards anyone?
No.
You're not leaning towards anyone. Because you've been...
Come on. Elon. Come on. We all know which way you're going to vote. When that time comes, when the election hits, we all know where your vote is going. You can't fool us. Come on, my guy.
Leaning away from Biden.
You're leaning...
I will say this, because of that town hall he did with DeSantis, I think he was really gunning for DeSantis, hoping that DeSantis would be, you know, the front runner. But I mean, anybody with a fucking brain knew that wasn't going to happen. So I think that his, you know, initial choice was DeSantis. But with DeSantis not even like in the cards, it's Trump. He's voting for Trump.
I've made no secret of that.
We do a little trolling. It's called.
Are you concerned about losing your security clearance if Biden is reelected? Does that have anything to do with it?
No.
You are leaning away from Biden, but you're not going to endorse anyone. It seems like an endorsement of President Trump because there are only two people.
Does he like not understand like how he sounds? Like when the words leave his mouth, does he not understand like what he's saying? I don't endorse Biden, but I'm not gonna endorse someone. He's an idiot.
Who are running now? Nikki Haley is out.
I mean, a lot could happen between now and the election, so we'll see.
Come on.
Who in the final analysis
Come on.
are the choices for president. And at that point, I may or may not endorse one of the candidates. If I do,
He thinks we're stupid. He really fucking thinks we're stupid.
will provide a very detailed explanation of why I am endorsing one.
What is this? I looked him up once until he went off the rails promoting election misinformation, making shitty cars, and then found out he didn't make Tesla. He stole it from the original CEO. His dad owns a blood emerald mine in South Africa, and all of his wealth comes from colonized slave labor, and he's an idiot. Yeah, pretty much. He's done a really good job of convincing people that he's a really smart guy. And I'll be honest, I was one of the people that was convinced. But then when you actually look into his history, you know who did a good video on it? There's a good video out there by Jay Aubrey about, you know, Elon Musk and, you know, basically how everything he's led you to believe about him is bullshit. I highly recommend checking out that video because it'll be an eye-opener. If you're ever someone who's ever believed in Elon Musk and that he's this great visionary or whatever, that video will change your mind. It will absolutely change your fucking mind. But yeah, like his whole like reputation that he's built up, so much of it is just bullshit.
At that point, might you contribute or donate?
I was a fan of him because I was 16. I was like, yo, he knows memes. I mean, that also, admittedly, that kind of helped, like his whole like being down with meme culture and stuff. It made him like a very relatable, you know, like you know, but normally when you think of like a tech figure, you don't think of anything that's related. Like if you look at like a Steve Jobs or like a Tim Cook or like a Bill Gates or, you know, like somebody who's like an influential tech figure, you don't see yourself as at all relatable. about them in connection to them, right? But because he was like a down-to-earth guy, there was the infamous him, smoking weed with Joe Rogan, and him like doing meme review with PewDiePie, and like all this stuff. It made him seem like someone that was down-to-earth and relatable, and it kind of made him like a likable personality. And then when you like unpeel the layers, and you start to see like how full of shit he actually is, then it's like, oh, well, he's just kind of a piece of shit. Okay.
I think it's unlikely.
So you have been posting up a storm, as you always do in the past.
But my big thing is, like, obviously, I have a tech background. For those of you guys who don't know, my background is like in tech. And so like, I've always looked up to like a lot of tech figures in the tech industry. And because of his association with the tech industry, that's one of the reasons why I used to really like him and I used to really look up to him. But then you see what kind of person he actually is, and you're like, oh, he's a garbage human. Got it.
Couple weeks about the redesign of the Tesla Roadster coming at the end of this year. Are there any kind of updates that you can talk about that to expect from your flagship EV? I mean, Tesla stock is down in the last 6 months. What's next for the company?
I used to be a huge... God, those stinger noises are annoying. They're really fucking annoying. I used to be a big fan of Tesla, the car brand. Like, there was a point in time where I was seriously considering getting a Tesla. I wanted one. But then I got the opportunity to see their cars like in person, and the build quality is like terrible. Something as simple as like when you look at the design of a car and you look at like the lines that are on like the seams where like the different panels connect on the car and stuff. Everything's like, really straight lines and everything like that, and everything just looks like it was really well crafted. And like one of the things I've noticed about like Tesla cars, you can look at any Tesla cars and the seams are all like, they don't match up right. Sometimes two panels will be like off, or there's like a weird like gap on one side that's not on the other side. Like it looks so like slapped together. Like they're the shoddiest designed cars ever. If you're going to spend that kind of money on like it's a luxury vehicle, right? Like if you're going to spend extra money to get yourself a luxury car, you want something that's very well designed, got quality craftsmanship behind it. And Tesla is not that. You pay a luxury car price for, I think, Funny Haha put it best, the IKEA of cars. It really does have that level of craftsmanship. The IKEA of fucking cars.
The stocks go up and down, but what really matters is, are we making and delivering great products? The Tesla products are outstanding. Last year, the Tesla model...
Teslas are ugly, in my opinion. I mean, they're ugly once you get to see them in person. When you see them, online, or you see pictures of them and stuff, like the Model S, for example, is a very beautiful looking car. Like, I'll never forget, there was this music video that a bunch of tech YouTubers made together called Fanboys. I remember like Lou from On the Box Therapy was in there, and they show a Tesla Model S in that video. And it's a very, very sexy looking car. But again, it's one of those things that when you see the car in person and you see how the seams just don't match up and everything just kind of looks like it's just kind of slapped together, suddenly that very beautiful car doesn't look so beautiful anymore. Ken in the chat says, oh, you're insulting IKEA. Oh my God. Oh shit! Oh shit! This is true.
Y was the best-selling car of any kind in the world. So it was about 1.2 million units. It was the best-selling car despite being, I think, around 50% more expensive than the next best-selling vehicle. Of any kind, not just electric. So...
what's funny, too? Tesla owners are always the stupidest people, too. They think that, like, I've met so many Tesla owners that either don't know that they have to perform a regular maintenance schedule just like any other car. Just because it's electric, they think that there's no maintenance schedule whatsoever. Or they've literally, like, ruined their cars because they haven't stuck to the maintenance schedule. Like, for example, Tesla cars, they still need oil changes. They still have moving gears in there that need to be lubricated. And so they need an oil change. And there are so many Tesla owners that do not realize that their car still needs to have an oil change. Like, it's crazy how ignorant so many people who own Teslas are in regards to their own car. Like, does nobody, at the very least, like, I feel like if I'm going to buy a new cutting edge car, I'm actually, you know, like, when you're buying a regular gas powered car, things like that are pretty much like you've come to expect them, pretty much, right? So, like, you just like, oh, okay, you know, every, you know, 3,000 or however many thousand miles, I got to get my oil change, et cetera, et cetera. You've come to expect these things, owning a traditional gas-powered car. But I feel like if I'm going to go out of my way to buy, like, the cutting edge of the next generation of, like, electric cars or whatever, I'm going to at least skim through the owner's manual to see, like, okay, what do I have to do to keep this thing in good running condition? But they don't do that. They're just like, I just plug it into the supercharger, and it just charges, and then I just drive away. And it's like, the fuck?
I think that's a testament to the incredible work of the Tesla team.
Yeah.
And we launched the Cybertruck. Obviously, that's being very well.
God. The fucking you know, the Cybertruck is something that if you're like a geeky, nerdy type like me, the first time you see the Cybertruck, like when they first announced it and you see the design, you're like, that looks really fucking cool, right? The first time you see it, you're like, that looks cool. But then you really start to think about it, you know, as you see more pictures of it come out, more press releases of it come out over the years and, you know, stuff like that. You start to think like, you know, it's really not that cool. It's kind of fucking ugly. You know what I mean? Like, I remember, like, my first thought was, okay, I've gone on record to say something along the lines of, hey, I am a big fan of like the old DeLorean cars. Okay. Like the old, you know, DMC DeLorean featured in Back to the Future. Very, very famous car from the 80s, right? I've always said that if I ever came into a ton of money, I'm a very frugal person, but if I ever came into a ton of money, the one thing I would splurge on is I would buy myself a DeLorean. And I remember the first time I saw the Cybertruck, I'm like, yo, it looks like a DeLorean if it was a truck. That's an insult to the DeLorean, okay? The DeLorean is a beautiful piece of engineering. The Cybertruck is just trash, okay? It literally looks like if you took the Warthog in Halo and turned off RTX on your fucking graphics card, okay? That's what it looks like. Also, calling it a truck is a reach. Yeah, true.
Well received. We have...
But yeah, if I ever came into a ton of money, I would buy myself a DeLorean. So if you guys want to help me become like the next, you know, Hassan Piker, but less of an asshole on Twitch, help me do that. And I will buy a DeLorean with your generous donations. That's never going to happen, but a guy can dream. You know what I mean?
I think over 1 million orders for the Cybertruck. It's a really special product. That is, I think the Cybertruck is one of those products that comes along really once in several years, maybe once a decade. A Cybertruck is a once a decade product.
Allegedly Angelo says, I had to beg my boyfriend on my knees not to get the truck. On my knees. It looks so ugly and I wouldn't be caught dead sitting in one. You were on your knees, huh? You were on your knees, you say?
Let's celebrate and suck some dick.
I'm gonna come.
I'm sorry, I had to do it.
Product. It is so special and I think it's our best product.
But everyone improves over time. I mean, Apple, I thought my phone was here, but Apple, you know, the phone got better over time. I'm sure your cars will get better over time. You have been
I'm joking.
tweeting about the updates in the Roadsters. There's something that we should expect?
Sure. You did mention the Roadster.
My dream cars are the Ghostbusters ambulance and the Jurassic Park Jeep. I would love to build if I ever had the time and the money, I would love to build a Ghostbusters, you know, the Ecto one. That'd be really cool. Owning a Jurassic Park Jeep would be pretty sick too. If I were to somehow come into money where I can do a project like that and do an Ecto one, I would build an Ecto one, or I would, you know, do like a Jurassic Park Jeep. Those are cool. But if I got the DeLorean, I would leave it stock. As cool as it would be to own a DeLorean time machine, like in Back to the Future, that would be cool. I would leave it stock because that is if you've never seen a DeLorean in person, stock, it is such a beautiful piece of machinery. It's funny because like the internals of the car are not great. It doesn't have a great engine in it. It was marketed like as if it was, you know, a sports car, but it's not very sporty at all. But having said that, it's a beautiful looking car. So as cool as it would be to own a DeLorean time machine, I would leave the DeLorean stock if I got one. But again, that's wishful thinking. Likely never going to happen, but a guy can dream.
What's this? So, look, I don't want to give away, you know, much more than what I've said publicly, except that the Roadster will be a collaboration between SpaceX and Tesla. So, you know, you can expect some rockety stuff there.
A flying car?
Maybe.
No, I didn't just hear that. I did not just hear that.
So, look, I don't want to give away, you know, much more than what I've said publicly, except that the Roadster will be a collaboration between SpaceX and Tesla. So, you know, you can expect some rockety stuff there.
A flying car?
Maybe.
You know what I picture in my head when he says that? Let me see if I could find this.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the car designed for the average man, the Homer. I'm ruined!
That's literally the fucking, like, Cybertruck owners.
It's not out of the
Yeah,
question.
that was my thoughts exactly, Elon. That was exactly what I was thinking.
Go on.
No, I gotta reserve the cool stuff for the, you know, when we actually unveil it. But it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna have some rocket technology in it. I think really the only way to do something that's cooler than the Cybertruck is to combine SpaceX and Tesla.
What does he think he's gonna do? Does he think he's gonna make a car that's like what was that Chrysler concept car from like way back in the day? The turbine, the Chrysler have you guys heard of this? The Chrysler turbine car? Let me see. Chrysler turbine car. Have you heard of this shit? This thing. I won't watch the whole video, obviously, but like they put a turbine engine in a car.
There's the Gia.
I just want to see
right there from Italy.
Where's the part where he drives the car. Here we go. He's driving the car.
Parking lots and doors hitting against it and whatnot. And a buddy of mine runs one of those dent master places, you know, and he came
The turbine was actually a decent idea. I mean, they were sexy cars, and like the way the engine sounds, it sounds really fucking cool. But if I remember correctly, like it just wasn't affordable enough to actually make a practical turbine car.
out with his little tools, bing, 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 took out all the dents, never harmed the original paint or anything. So I'm not quite sure this is original paint. I think this might have been retouched up by Chrysler.
Either that, or is he going to bring back like space age level flair to like car designs like they used to do in like the 60s? Is that what he's going to do? Maybe then he might actually sell me on it, because car designs back then were pretty fucking sexy.
The technology to create something that's not even really a car.
Then what would it be?
Something that's never existed before.
I'm getting Jetsons vibes.
Totally Jetsons.
This guy is insane. This Elon Musk is the perfect example of when you put billions of dollars in the hands of somebody who's fucking insane. It's literally that.
The ones may not be aware, like some things that I have said publicly is that it'll do 0 to 60 in under 1 second. So that's by far faster than any sports car that exists. And that's not even the most exciting thing.
A car that fast, you're gonna cause somebody to have serious case of fucking whiplash. Might knock their fucking head off. Elon Musk is Mark Beeks from DuckTales, 2017. but Deuce Chills. I haven't seen DuckTales. I used to love the old school DuckTales. I never watched the new one, but I'll take your word for it.
Does it have wings?
No, it does not have big wings, because big wings would be unwieldy on the road.
So it has wings, just not big. Oh God, he's talking about wing. He is. He's gonna bring back 1960s like car design, 50s, 60s when they used to do the space age designs. He's gonna bring back that design language. That's what it sounds like to me. He's literally gonna make the Homer Simpson car.
Does it have propellers?
It does not have propellers.
Okay. It has wheels.
It does have wheels. Okay. Roadster 20 questions.
Does it have
What is this conversation? This is
a steering wheel?
Not exactly.
What is it?
It'll have a drive-by-wire yoke, essentially, like kind of like the way aircraft or modern jets are controlled.
And do you think it's the way of the future that everyone will follow your lead on this?
I don't think anyone will ever make anything like the Roadster that we're going to make.
Let's talk now about SpaceX, Tesla. You got a lot of lawsuits. You've got X.com. You got a lot going on. How do you relax?
Well, I relax. I spend time with my kids, my friends, and I, think somewhat of a nerd technologist. So I like playing video games. So I'll play video games with friends online.
Which one?
Lately, I've been playing Diablo, but I've played almost all the games over the years. A long time ago, I was like semi-pro.
no Helldivers. Damn, you got to get with the times, my guy. I say that as I haven't played the game either. Transgirl J in the chat has really been on my ass about that. Anyway.
Good at Quake. This is really dating me because we're talking about like 125 years ago.
I don't know video games. I just know that my great nephew loves Fortnite and some other stuff. He's always with the head.
Tori gifted me Helldivers. I got to play it. Yeah, I haven't got it yet. Maybe at some point I'll get it. I'm not sure. But I know Transgirl Jade really wants me to get it. And so does Ellen Degenerate and Liv. They want me to get it too.
Phones and doing the thing. So that helps you relax, right? So
yeah. And the nice thing is if you've got friends in different cities and they're playing the same game, you can both go online at the same time and play the game together, even though you're in different cities.
Listen, I'm not asking you any.
It's weird hearing him talk about that. Like it's okay. Understand in the late 90s and early 2000s, widespread acceptance of like online gaming or widespread adoption. That's the word I was looking for. In those days, widespread adoption of online gaming was like a new thing. Like I'll never forget the first time I played a game online. Like it was like an amazing experience, right? So a lot of people would describe it like that. It's just so weird to hear him like have this like really like mesmerizing description of like, oh man, it's like you can play games with your friends when you're in other parts of the world together. And it's like, it's nothing new. Like we've been doing that for like what, 20, 25 years at this point, right? I can understand the like excitement around it when online gaming first started becoming a thing, but like this is like boomer brain. This is literally boomer brain.
Anything that anyone else hasn't asked you about your controversial stuff that you tweet? You post a lot of controversial stuff. Is that considered blowing off steam?
Well, I guess I do enjoy using the platform. I mean, I do call the X platform the PvP or player versus player platform. So in video games, there's player versus like environment, where you're not playing against other people, and then there's PvP, which is like.
What does this have to do with the question? Chasing Dopamine said, anyone else just eat croutons as a snack? I don't want to admit it, but I have done that before. but I'm not super fond of it. Croutons tend to be very salty. So, like, you really have to mix them with something because they're just too salty. Or maybe it's just the brand of croutons I had, but, like, I've done it, but, like, I wasn't proud of it. Yeah.
Hardcore, you're actually playing against other people. And,
But that's blowing off steam for you.
yeah.
Yes.
It is to some degree, not always. I mean, obviously I use it for, to post jokes, to post, you know, sometimes trivia, sometimes things that are of great importance.
So you do a lot of it at night, like late at night. So when you're doing this, are you sober when you do it?
Oh my god.
It was at this moment that he knew.
That was such
fucked
a
up.
very, very just like no holds barred, just straight up. Are you sober when you put out these stupid fucking tweets? He is kind of a late night tweeter, isn't he? I never really thought about that, but it's true. He really is a late night tweeter. See, I tend to tweet when I'm on the shitter. So if you ever see, you know, a moment in time when I'm, you know, maybe it's a period of a few minutes and like I'm rapid firing out tweets, I'm probably taking a shit in that moment. Not sure if you guys wanted to know that, but if you ever see me rapid firing tweets, I'm probably taking a shit. Let's move on.
Almost
Are
always,
you
yes.
under the influence of anything?
No, I don't drink. I don't really. No.
So you got no drink, no smoke, no nothing. I mean, you smoke pot with Rogan,
I had one puff.
Yeah.
I think anyone who smokes pot can tell I don't know how to smoke pot.
but you've admitted that you have a ketamine prescription.
Yeah.
What's that
Good
for?
to know. I will ask about your shit session next time. No, it's not just when I tweet. It's when I'm rapid firing tweets, okay? You have to pay close attention, okay? Like when there are a lot of tweets being put out in rapid succession, and retweets do count, that's when I'm shitting, okay? Now you know. The more you know. What's that? What's that the more you know sound? Hold on, let me see if I can find that. Here you go. Let me see. The more you know sound. So, if you ever see me tweeting in rapid succession and retweets do count, I'm taking a shit.
Well, I mean, it's pretty private to ask somebody about a medical prescription, you know. But I think it's something I'd
Well,
say,
see,
like,
Jade, you don't have to worry about it, though, because you don't use Twitter. You know, Jade, look, Jade is a very privileged individual in chat right now because Jade has a functioning, sane brain because Jade has chosen not to use Twitter because you have to be some level of insane to expose yourself to the outright fucking shit that is Twitter, okay? You have to have some level of insanity in order to use Twitter, okay? So good for you, Jade, on having your sanity intact. We're very happy for you.
like, there are times when I have sort of I don't know, like a negative chemical state in my brain, like depression, I guess, you know, is or like depression that's not linked to any negative news.
So basically what he's saying is when he tweets unhinged shit, he's sad posting. I mean, yeah, he is a very, very fucking sad individual. So I can definitely believe that. So when you see him posting really unhinged shit, he's just very, very sad. Be forgiving of him, chat. He's just really, really, really sad when he's tweeting unhinged shit.
And then ketamine is helpful for getting one out of a negative frame of mind.
The Purple J in the chat says, Jade, you lucky little ducky. Twitter is a war zone of degenerates, creeps, and Tipster is there too. I mean, I am a degenerate. This is true. I am absolutely a degenerate, which is exactly why I use Twitter.
I'm gonna come.
Well, listen,
So in fact, I generally, obviously I'm not a doctor, but I would say if someone has depression issues, they should consider talking to their doctor about ketamine instead of SSRIs.
Listen, I think that ketamine and drug therapy is increasingly becoming more in the mainstream.
Yeah.
Do you think you're doing it under a doctor's care, right?
Yeah. Literally a prescription from an actual, a real doctor, not like,
Yeah, but do you feel like you ever abuse it?
I don't think so. If you use too much ketamine, you can't really get work done. So I have a lot of work. So I'm typically putting in 16-hour days.
I mean, I do wonder sometimes how much work he gets done with how much time he spends on Twitter. If you look at Elon's Twitter feed, let's actually pull it up. Look at his Twitter feed. He's tweeting all fucking day long. How do you get any work done ever? Tweeting, I'm a heavy Twitter user. I won't lie. I am a pretty heavy Twitter user. But I don't use Twitter as heavily as Elon does. How do you get any work done just tweeting all day long like this? All fucking day, every day. Tons of fucking tweets. And it's all the most unhinged fucking shit. I don't know.
Days, that's normal for me. And it's rare for me to even take off a weekend day. So I don't really have
Maybe that's what he considers work, tweeting? Maybe. Matt Walsh jump scare? Yeah, true.
a situation where I can be not mentally acute for an extended period of time. I can't really get wasted because I can't get my work done.
So how often do you take it?
Well, it'd be a small amount once every other week or something like that.
But there's not on the bottle where it says take this dose this many times a week or whatever. If it's not a doctor's
dose. And there are several weeks will go by where I don't use it.
You don't use it.
Yeah, I think it's just, like I said. I think what I find ketamine is if you literally a chemical state in your brain that you can't just think yourself out of, then ketamine is helpful for getting you out of a depressive mind state.
You suffer from depression, or you have depressed?
Jazzog says, I have a feeling his ketamine is not prescribed. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Typically when you get prescribed something, there's some kind of regular timing for your prescription. For example, I know he's speaking out against SSRIs. I take SSRIs. I have an antidepressant that I take, and I have to take it every day. I take 2 pills of it every single day around the same time every day. So there's some kind of repetition with a prescription. It's just not willy-nilly I'll just take it whenever the fuck I want. It doesn't work that way. I mean, I understand that there are some prescriptions that are, on a use case basis where if you're, for example, if you use an inhaler, you use the inhaler when you're experiencing symptoms that require the inhaler. But most prescriptions, especially when you're taking prescriptions for a mental health ailment, it's a repetitious thing that you take it take this amount every day or every other day or whatever the fuck your prescription says. What? This doesn't sound like it's prescribed at all.
Depressive mind state. And I asked you as someone who has suffered from depression.
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that I have a case of extended depression. It's just once in a while I get into a negative sort of chemical mind state. Once in a while, it's not a common thing, but once in a while it does happen.
I'd say if I lived a pretty sad fucking existence like you do, I'd probably be pretty fucking depressed all the time too. If I were a pathetic person that just goes around being a hateful piece of shit on social media all day, yeah, I'd probably be pretty fucking depressed too.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think it's just genetic, basically.
You think it's just genetic history?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, some people are just wired to be happy all the time. Some are unfortunately wired to be sad a lot of the time. And in my case, I'm generally pretty positive and optimistic. But once in a while, I don't know what happens. There's some, like I said, I think it's just chemical tides in your brain. Once in a while, it's like a brain storm.
I think that's the only somewhat intelligent thing he said throughout this whole conversation basically acknowledging that, you know, some people do struggle with mental health problems or whatever. Like, it's a thing. Cause I know like some people, especially like right wingers, like to pretend that like, mental health issues aren't a thing. And that if you're just sad, you need to just cheer the fuck up, like lighten up or something. There's the infamous like Keemstar clip of him or tweet of him just saying, you know, have a few sips of beer if you're depressed or whatever. Which it doesn't fucking work that way. So I will say that like, at least to some degree, he is like, you know, willing to admit that like mental health issues are a problem, and it's like something that some people you know, have to, you know, deal with and, you know, seek medical attention for. But yeah, he's still a weird. I don't know if I don't agree with his prescription in terms of how to deal with it though. If you're depressed, take ketamine. Maybe you should speak to your doctor and consult your doctor on what their professional opinion is on what you should be doing about your mental health. Just saying. You know, what works for me is taking antidepressants and talking to a therapist semi-regularly. That's what works for me. I don't think taking ketamine is the answer, but there you go.
Yeah. Do you ever worry that this may...
Yeah, exactly. Beer is a downer. Beer, alcohol is a downer. It's not something you take for depression if you want to get... See, like, I've been very open with the fact that, you know, I had a drinking problem before. A lot of, like, what I was dealing with untreated mental health issues, anxiety and depression disorders. And one of the things that I would do, which was not a smart thing to do, I'm not advocating for this, but I would not treat my pain with alcohol, but I would numb my pain with alcohol. I would get, you know, drunk to the point where I just didn't really feel anything emotionally. And so that was not a good thing to do. That's obviously why I quit drinking, because that is not a very healthy or good thing to do. You should seek appropriate treatment for your mental health conditions. But yeah, like if you're depressed, drinking alcohol isn't going to make you less depressed. At most, if you get insane levels of drunk, it'll numb your pain, but not in a good way. So no, that is not the fucking answer. If you are depressed, drink beer. 3 sips of beer. Like, that was so fucking stupid.
It get in the way of your government contracts and clearances, and also and Wall Street as well.
Well, from a standpoint of Wall Street, what matters is execution. You know, are you building value for investors? Tesla is worth about as much as the rest of the car industry combined from nothing. So, you know, that's pretty good. As I mentioned, we had the best-selling car on Earth last year. So from an investor standpoint, if there is something I'm taking, I should keep taking it.
Have you talk about your ketamine use and depression, have you also have said... and
the reason I should say, the reason I mentioned the ketamine prescription on the X platform was because I thought maybe this is something that could help other people. That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Great Reflection?
I don't think that Elon Musk is somebody you should be taking health or mental health advice from. Okay. This guy, you know, yes, he's a wealthy guy and he's an entrepreneur and all that stuff. But if you really look deep within like his personal life, if you actually take a look at aspects of his personal life, like I saw Trans Girl Jade reference earlier, you know, his divorce, his poor relationship with his children, stuff like that. This is not a guy you should be taking life advice from. Okay. Just because he happens to be a successful billionaire doesn't mean he has his fucking life together. So I'm sorry, like, if I were going to take advice, like if I were, let's say I was still in that position where I wasn't getting treatment for my mental health, I would not turn to Elon Musk for advice on how I should treat my mental health, because this guy's mentally fucked.
Replacement theory now. Some of the things that you post, a great replacement theory. You claim that Democrats, President Biden's immigration plan to open up the border, you said that the president is getting, and Democrats are doing it to get more votes. But undocumented immigrants cannot vote in federal elections, so how is that possible?
Right. Well, you're conflating two things. One is great replacement theory. The other is, which I don't subscribe to that. I'm simply saying that there is an incentive here. if legal immigrants, which I think have a very strong bias to, at least everything I've read, it's a very strong bias to vote Democrat. The more that come into the country, the more that
Have a good one, Kenna. Take it easy.
are likely to vote in that direction. But it is, in my view, a simple incentive to increase voters, Democrat voters.
That's all, folks.
And yeah, so the question is like how? So there's a few ways that this works. One is that when the census is done, the census is based on all people in an area, whether they are citizens or not. So if there are a concentration of people who came here illegally in a particular state or in a particular state, that state will actually then get an increased number of House seats. So the House seat apportionment is proportionate to the number of people, not the number of citizens. So the illegals overwhelmingly go to places like California and New York, and if you just look at the map.
Did he just refer to? Hold on. Did he do the thing that like Biden just got in trouble for saying? Did he just refer to immigrants as illegals?
So the illegals overwhelmingly go to.
Yeah, he did. He really fucking did. Wow.
To places like California and New York, and if you just look at the math, if you look at the apportionment with and without illegals, I believe California would lose. I believe the blue state, there would be a net loss of blue states of approximately 20 seats in the House. This also applies to the Electoral College. So you say, like, well, this also applies to electing the president.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike Biden, though, Elon did it entirely on purpose. Yeah, pretty much.
President, because the electoral votes.
Yeah, Winter Rose. True.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Conservatives don't get in trouble, though. Yeah, because they don't care, right? It's like social media influencers, who are viewed as like uncancelable. Take someone like like a Keemstar, for example. Keemstar doesn't give a fuck about what people think about him, so he's virtually uncancelable. Because if anybody calls him out for anything, his response is, I don't give a fuck what you think. I don't care. It's literally the same sort of thing, pretty much.
Also done by apportionment the same way that House seats are done.
But the reason, Elon, the Electoral College is in place is...
Elon is kind of correct about the House seats, but he doesn't understand the actual reason behind it. Yeah, exactly.
To balance that, so that doesn't happen. So what you're saying about it is the exact opposite of the reason why the Electoral College is there. The Electoral College at this point, in our history, gives...
Now, I'm not an expert on that either, okay? But let's say you have, okay, the more seats thing, he's right about that. But theoretically, let's say a bunch of like immigrants, go to a red state and they get more House seats because there's more people in the population in a red state. Wouldn't it be more likely that the more seats they get would be representatives for the right? So like I unless I'm misunderstanding that, how would that benefit the left then? Wouldn't that be more beneficial to the right? Or am I just dumb and I don't understand how that works? Because admittedly, like, I'm not an expert in it, so I could have that totally wrong. But I would imagine that if a bunch of immigrants went to a red state and like they got more seats because there were more people in the population, that would benefit, the right more, right? As it's all public services and they don't want people not filling in the census, as public services will be accidentally underfunded. Anyway, but that makes sense to me. But if I'm wrong about that, feel free to correct me in chat. So I don't understand his logic of how that would benefit the left in the case of like a right state. Yeah, Tipster, you're correct. Okay, so his logic doesn't even make sense then.
People who are in smaller states and red states much more of an influence over our elections than people who are in blue states, and the majority of the people in this country. That's what the Electoral College does. It actually does the exact opposite of what you're saying. It protects people who are in smaller states and protects people who are in red states.
Yeah.
The red states, because they tend to be smaller.
A red state with a bigger population that gets more seats in the House would benefit the right.
And less populous.
I think that statement is what you said is true, but what I said is also true, which is that if as is the case, a disproportionate number of legal immigrants go to blue states, they amplify the effect of a blue state vote. And the math, as I understand it, you can research this obviously very easily on there. It's pretty straightforward to research this. But my understanding is that there would be that the Democrats would lose approximately 20 seats in the House.
Pierre Null in the chat says, clip the whole thing and got you being ableist and then stuttering, you're dangerous. Hold on a second. I got something for you.
Hold on. Retard break. I need a retard break. Give me a retard break for like 2 fucking minutes, okay? I can't keep listening to fucking retards.
Bye, woke scold. Let's continue.
If illegals were not counted in the census. And that's also 20 less electoral votes for president. So the illegals absolutely do affect the who controls the House and who controls the presidency. It does not affect the Senate.
Yeah. In blue states, you're talking about. I
Yes.
don't believe that your information on that is right. So listen, let's talk more about the Great Replacement, because the first time that you posted on X about this Jewish conspiracy, you ended up apologizing.
I didn't call it a conspiracy. I just said that there's a simple matter of incentives. You don't need a conspiracy when you have basic incentives. In my view, there's a basic incentive that is fundamental that for the Democrat Party to foster and usher in a large number of illegals. Yeah.
So he said earlier he doesn't believe in Great Replacement theory, but he does. Like the answer he's given right now, he absolutely does believe in that. Holy shit.
And you don't need a conspiracy in that case because you have a very basic incentive. You could say I'm wrong about that incentive, but that's my view. I'm not buying some Great Replacement theory. I'm simply saying there appears to be a very clear incentive for Democrats to maximize the number of illegals because it helps them win elections.
I'm talking about the Great Replacement theory is also part of a Jewish conspiracy theory. And when you did the tweet, or you responded to the tweet about that, you ended up apologizing.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. That stinger animation is so annoying. It's so fucking annoying. Absolutely fucking. Don Lemon, please fix that. Stop.
And which I think is, it's good that you ended up apologizing. You went to Auschwitz with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Right? So you said you learned your lesson. What did you learn?
I said I learned my lesson.
You said you learned your lesson when you apologized, and you said you went to Auschwitz. You saw what.
No, I was already aware of these things, and the nature of my comment that really inflamed people.
He doesn't even remember the things he says.
What I was trying to say, and I did very quickly clarify. This is what I'm saying: is that a number of prominent Jewish philanthropists fund groups that they should really take a closer look at funding, because some of the groups they fund, I think, are anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Do you understand the connection between the two? There's a connection between, you said Democrats, the Great Replacement theory, but when it comes to the actual Great Replacement theory, originally it was started about Jewish people, as you said, flooding in the country, and then now people are using it for Democrats, saying the same thing about Democrats. Flooding.
In my view, it's a simple matter of incentives.
Yeah.
I actually don't see an incentive for Jewish people to want to have illegal immigration.
Meanwhile, he replies to a JQ post. Yeah, it's crazy. Like whenever you see like someone that's like hardcore JQing and you like explain to them, like you realize you're JQing right now, they play stupid and pretend like they don't know what you're talking about. A good example of this is when I called out the commentary YouTuber Poncho. Poncho was basically trying to say that like the existence of trans people was like a Jewish conspiracy of some sort, and like trans people were invented by the Jews, and it was like this weird fucking thing, and like he literally was JQing, And like when you point out that he's like JQ, he, what are you talking about, man? Like, what are you talking? Like he played like stupid, like he didn't know what the fuck I was saying. And it's like you're literally doing that. Like, what are you talking about?
I don't think there is such an incentive.
The Great Replacement Theory is a neo-Nazi trope. It's in the Neo-Nazi Manifesto. It's in the Turner Diaries. It's referenced by the Buffalo mass shooter in his manifesto where 10 people, black people were murdered in Buffalo. There's the actual title of the Christchurch Shooters Manifesto. 51 people in the Muslim mosque were murdered. 23 people murdered in El Paso by a shooter who used the same language that you use in that manifesto when you say Hispanic invasion. Is that not?
I didn't say an Hispanic invasion.
And you quoted a tweet that called it a Hispanic invasion.
Damn, Elon, you don't like my people? Damn, I thought we were Titus, eh? The fuck?
If I quote something, it doesn't mean I agree with everything in it. It's just something that I want.
Why would you signal boost something unless you're doing a call out, right? Why would you signal boost something if you didn't agree with it? What the fuck?
I think this is something worth people should consider.
Why would you quote something that you didn't believe in?
Because anything I quote is going to have a whole range of statements. Doesn't mean I agree with everything in it.
Do you think
Funny haha in the chat says he's so retarded. You know what? We need another one.
Hold on. Retard break. I need a retard break. Give me a retard break for like 2 fucking minutes, okay? I can't keep listening to fucking retards.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
You know what, chat? I know some of you guys have been patiently waiting for this. I know we said earlier that it was a little bit too soon, but those you guys at the beginning of the stream who said that this whole thing is like just cope, you're not wrong.
You are coping and seething.
I fucking hate everyone.
What you see.
This is worse than the one where he was like hyped up on something.
Coping so hard. Yeah!
If you moderated yourself more, if there was better content moderation on the platform, that you wouldn't have to answer these questions from reporters about the Great Replacement Theory as it relates to
don't have to
Democrats,
answer these questions.
The Great Replacement Theory as it relates to Jewish people. Do you think that?
I don't have to answer questions from reporters. Don, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
Well, I don't think he's on the platform anymore because the deal that they had, he canceled it, right? Now he's getting aggressive. Yeah, he's pretty fucking mad.
So you don't think do you think that you wouldn't get in trouble or you wouldn't be criticized for these things?
I'm criticized constantly. I could care less.
You don't care?
No, I don't.
Why
care.
not?
I don't think people should care what the media thinks about them. They're terrible judges of character.
Even someone who has one of the biggest social media,
he's mad.
Biggest information platforms in the world, you don't care? You don't think that you have any X.com or you have any responsibility to the truth or moderating the platform?
You're conflating the truth with the media, and I think the media is not truthful.
Well, not with just the media.
He's so
just
mad!
The truth in general.
I care about the truth very much. That's why we have, for example, community notes on the X system, where...
Hasn't Elon been known to, like, if his own posts get community noted, like, he'll delete his tweet? He deletes his own tweets if they get community noted. Am I misremembering that? I'm pretty sure there's been instances where like he's tweeted out something really fucking stupid and he got community noted and then he deleted the tweet. Right? Or am I misremembering that?
In order for a community note to surface and provide corrective information about what somebody posts. And
Funny haha says Elon right now. True. Very true.
And my posts are equally subject to this. I've been community noted many times. In order for a community note to surface, people who have historically disagreed must agree in order for a community node to surface. And all of the code for community nodes is open source. All of the data is open source, so you can completely recreate it from scratch. The way to build trust is transparency.
I have noticed community notes. I think that you are right about that, and I do think community notes are helpful. I think any type of content moderation, I do think that's helpful. You recently called content moderation, though, a digital chastity belt. Do you think that you believe that X and you have some responsibility to moderate hate speech on the platform?
I think we have a responsibility to adhere to the law, and we have a responsibility to be transparent about when things are shown, why they're shown. That's why.
So he's not going to answer that. Basically, that's what he's saying. Is he's not going to answer that. Didn't he say that like the reason he like obviously they've backpedaled on this, like a lot of decisions he's made at X, but didn't he say that like the reason why he wanted to like outlaw certain or not outlaw certain things, but like take the whole like misgendering and dead naming thing off the platform because some of his own tweets would break the rules? Like, so he clearly has no interest in, you know, filtering out hate speech on his platform because he was concerned about protecting his own hate speech when he got rid of those rules that, you know, basically labeled, you know, misgendering people and dead naming people as hate speech.
We open source our algorithm. I think once you start going beyond,
he just wants us to be the Wild West. I feel like if it was up to Elon, Twitter would be like maybe 2 notches down from like a 4chan or like a Kiwi Farms. I feel like if he had like full control over like what Twitter does, because obviously there are other people who, you know, make decisions over at X, not just him. But if it was up to him, like just a few notches down from like a 4chan or like a Kiwi Farms, and that's what X would be if it was totally 100% up to him.
On the law, now you're putting your thumb on the scale. And we don't want to put our thumb on the scale.
It doesn't concern you that hate speech has gone. Research shows that it's gone up on the platform since you took over.
Oh,
That's not concerning to you?
It's undoubtable. Like anybody who tries to deny that there's been an increase in hate speech on the platform since he took over, 100% it absolutely has. Like Twitter has always been a pretty toxic platform. The design of Twitter like literally encourages like targeted harassment and things of that nature. But like, oh man, it has gotten so much worse since he took over.
I believe that is false. In fact, the research that I've seen says it went down.
No, absolutely
not. The study
not.
from the Institute of Strategic Dialogue found that anti-Semitic tweets doubled from June 22 to February 2023. One study reported that as many as 86% of the posts reported for hateful content remained up after being reported. Hate speech.
I mean, like I've literally seen like an increase in, you know, use of terms like, you know, or slurs like the N-word directed at black people on the platform, anti-Semitic, you know, slurs used towards Jewish people on the platform, obviously LGBT people regularly being falsely accused of being groomers and pedophiles and stuff like that. Like it's undeniable that hate speech has seen an uptick on the platform ever since he took over. Like he's full on like delusional if he doesn't believe that.
On the platform is up.
So what they will typically do is they will count the number of posts, but not count the number of views. So what matters is, was that post...
Does that matter? I think when you're measuring an uptick in hate speech on a platform, I don't think the number of views on a post matter. I think you should be counting how many of those types of posts exist on the platform. Views has nothing to do with it. What?
Given high visibility, or what did like one person see it? And if you look at the number of...
So it's okay to be hateful on X as long as a bunch of people don't see your hateful shit? I don't understand his logic here.
Views of how many times was hate content viewed on our platform? It is down substantially.
Yeah. Well, that's not was what the study shows. And you said you like transparency.
I don't believe that because we literally have the guy who runs the platform, you, literally like quote tweeting and retweeting this shit. We've got you, you know, quote tweeting and retweeting posts about like the Great Replacement. We've got you quote tweeting and retweeting posts that are like extremely bigoted towards like gay people, trans people, etc. We've got you rubbing shoulders with people like libs of TikTok and shit like that. Like, what do you mean? What do you fucking mean?
I'm going to show you this, and
Don, you can get a study that will tell you whatever you want.
But these are just a handful of extremely. You look at those anti-Semitic and racist
Oh my
tropes
God.
and tweets, and as of this morning, they're still on X. And from your own content policy, these posts should have been deleted. So why haven't they been deleted? Why are they still there? Did you?
We delete things if they are illegal.
But these have been up there for a while.
Are they illegal?
They're not illegal, but
So it does. So basically, his terms of service isn't worth, shit. You might as well print it onto toilet paper and wipe your ass with it, because his terms of service doesn't mean anything. Apparently, if his terms of service says that hate speech isn't allowed, and people are tweeting hate speech, oh, it's not against the law, so who cares? Like, what? What is the point of having a terms of service on your platform if that's your answer? Well, it's not illegal, so whatever. Tough shit.
they're hateful and they can...
So he's perfectly fine with hate speech being allowed on his platform. That's what he's saying.
They can lead to violence. As I just read to you, the shooters, you know, in all of these mass shootings, attributed social media to radicalizing.
So Don, you love censorship, is what you're saying?
No, I don't love censorship.
Then why are you asking?
I believe in moderation, but I don't believe in...
Censorship moderation is a propaganda word for censorship.
But don't you...
So yeah, he's perfectly fine. He's perfectly fine with hate speech on his platform. That's what he's saying. That's what that means, right? Because like at the end of the day, like even if you're like a free speech absolutist and you get banned on a platform like say Twitter, because you're literally like saying hate speech on the platform, nobody's preventing you from saying the fucked up shit that you're saying. You still have a voice that you can use to say the fucked up shit all you want. You just can't say it on the platform because it violates their terms of service. So he's literally like, in this case, he's just admitting that like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with hate speech on the platform. Anti-Semitic shit, racist shit, you know, transphobic, homophobic, any form of bigoted shit, doesn't matter. I'm okay with it. That's what he's saying.
I think free speech is one thing, right? Or not, you know...
Look, if something's illegal, we're going to take it down. If it's not illegal, then we're putting our thumb on the scale and we're being censors.
You're putting your...
He sounds like someone who runs like, you know, Twitter is like a massive social media platform. Okay, a massive, massive social media platform. It's one of the big, you know, right up there with YouTube and like, you know, Facebook and like, you know, all these big social media platforms. It's right up there. We're not talking about some niche free speech platform like a Parler or a Truth Social or Minds or Gab or something like that. We're not talking about one of these niche platforms that get overrun by literal fucking Nazis and, you know, the worst people on the fucking internet. We're talking about a massive social media platform. And when you listen to this guy talk, he talks to like one of those people that run those niche platforms that inevitably every time get overrun by the worst people on the fucking internet. Right? Like I'm all in favor of like, hey, you want to have a platform that's like a free speech platform, like, okay, cool, whatever. But even free speech platforms require some level of moderation. And for fuck's sakes, don't ever label it a free speech platform, because the moment you do that, all the worst people on the internet flock to it. Every time. If you've ever looked at any platform that launched as a competitor to the mainstream, the moment they sell their platform as a free speech platform, it attracts all the worst people. It happened to BitChute. It happened to Rumble. It happened to, you know, Gab. It happened to Minds. It happened to Parler. Every single one. They're drawn like, exactly, like Dragon Born in the chat says, they're drawn like moths to a flame. Every single fucking time. Every single fucking time.
Thumb on the scale for moderating hate speech.
You might as well put a sign on the homepage of your fucking website. If you're going to advertise yourself as a free speech platform, right? If you're going to advertise yourself as a free speech platform and you're going to welcome hate speech on your platform, you might as well put on the front page of your login screen on your website, Nazis welcome. Because that's literally the kind of people that are drawn to those kind of platforms.
I mean, you don't put out child pornography. That's not...
It's illegal.
Some people would say that's considered censorship. I'm just saying, you...
No, I literally... Don, you know, I literally said, if something is legal, okay, we will obviously remove it.
Okay.
But if it is not legal, the laws in this country are put forward by the citizens. We're a democracy. If those laws are put in place by the people, we adhere to those laws.
Okay, I
We adhere to the
agree.
laws of others. If you go beyond the law, you're actually going beyond the will of the people.
And yes, some people, very online people, want to shut down TikTok for more rather trivial shit. What's interesting to me about TikTok, because I understand the concerns about, you know, spying from the Chinese government when TikTok first became into prominence, and it was still very much under control of, like, you know, or Chinese-owned companies, rather, excuse me. I understand the concerns there, but, like, my understanding is the reason why TikTok was allowed to continue to exist here is because they had an American company that took control of it or something like that, right? Like, am I misremembering that? Or I could be totally wrong about that because I'm not a big TikTok user, so I don't really care much for the platform. I have a TikTok, upload there sometimes, but it's very rare. But, like, that's my understanding is, like, why TikTok was allowed to continue to exist in the United States, because an outside company, right, took control. Am I misremembering that? Yeah, true, Tipster. There are valid concerns. Can't dispute that. But anyway, let's continue. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I could have swore that was, like, aren't there, like, for their North American users, aren't the data centers hosted within the United States or something like that now? I could be totally misremembering that, but anyway.
Okay, agreed with the law. But if you are doing something that promotes hate and violence and ultimately leads to killing, you don't feel you have any
in Texas, yes. Yeah, I thought so. I thought so.
Responsibility not to do that? When the people who are doing it admittedly are saying...
There's articles all the time that lead to violence and killing. Don't they? Shouldn't they? Like, you're applying a differential standard to.
But that would never. That
was like one of the things they did to address the concerns with TikTok. It's like, okay, you guys are concerned about, you know, a Chinese company having control of TikTok and, you know, potentially the Chinese government spying through that company. So we're going to offload our North American users' data to a North American data center controlled by a North American company. That was my understanding.
Never be in mainstream media. These types of images, that type of language, those things would never be. We'd never, when I was in mainstream media, we'd never promote things that would be anti-Semitic. We would never promote things that would.
Either.
Republicans just want to seem tough without actually doing anything meaningful. It's like the when they were they had the hearings not too long ago to try and or fairly recently trying to impeach Biden. I actually, funny enough, like, when I was waking up this morning, you know, that, like, half area where, like, you're awake, but you're not fully awake. Your eyes are still closed, but you're, like, conscious and you're hearing things around you. My wife had the TV on, and I don't know what show she was watching, but they were talking about the hearings for the Biden impeachment. And, like, I was half asleep, so I didn't see who it was, but somebody was asking them, you know, what grounds do you have to impeach Biden? And they had no answer. No fucking answer, right? So it's true. Like, Republicans want to make it seem like they are actually trying to do something, and, like, they're tough, and they do nothing. Nothing of value anyway.
Did you not see those?
You said promote. If content is on the platform, that doesn't mean we promote it.
But that wouldn't be on a platform for mainstream media at all.
No, but you can.
Republicans are the SJWs. They say that we are. It's funny, right? Even if you're not talking about, like, all Republicans, at least, like, the people who are very, like, online figures when it comes to the right, you know, they will always mock people as being, like, social justice warriors and getting triggered and stuff like that. But you literally watch these people get triggered and get upset and in an uproar about a black character playing Spider-Man, or pronouns in, like, video games, or a cartoon getting a reboot and, like, the main character's tits aren't big enough, or, like, you know, stupid shit like that. Like, they get outraged over these things, and they literally get triggered, but they want to talk about how, you know, lefties get triggered all the time. Thank you very much. Look, somebody claimed their channel points. Now you guys can play the soundboard stuff.
Think of that. That's because the mainstream media has like, whatever, 20 articles a day. We have 500 million posts today.
Okay,
500
understood.
million.
Does it bother you? How do you feel about that when you see it?
I obviously disagree with that. I think it's not good at all. It's terrible.
But you don't want to get rid of it on the platform, or at least moderate it.
The rules, what you're suggesting is censorship that goes beyond the law. And what I'm saying is that we're...
What he's suggesting is human fucking decency. The same kind of human decency that you would see on any other platform. You know, if I came on here on Twitch, we're streaming on Twitch right now, and I just go around, you know, calling black people the N-word, or I start using anti-Semitic slurs to, you know, Jewish people, or like I start using the F slur.
I fucking hate everyone.
Thank you. Or I start using like the F slur targeted at, you know, members of the LGBT community. Like these are things that Twitch would not allow because these are things that are a form of hate speech, right? And Twitch has decided we don't want that shit on our platform. You're free to say that shit wherever else the fuck you want, but not on our platform, right? Because it's basic human fucking decency. So what Elon is saying is he doesn't give a fuck about that. You can be a hateful, bigoted piece of shit on X, and he's totally fine with it. Absolutely fucking fine with it.
I guess have a disagreement because I do not believe in censorship that goes beyond the law, and you do. We have a difference of opinion in that regard.
I understand that, but these are your own rules on your own platform. These go against the rules on your platform. That's why I'm asking you. If you said, listen, we allow everything, but that's not what your content rules say. And that's why I'm asking you, why are they still there? Your own content.
It's just for PR. I mean, essentially, that's what I get from this. His terms of service is only in place to make the company look like they're in good standing, that they'll do something about this kind of stuff on their platform. That's what it's meant for, to make it look like they give a shit. They don't actually give a shit, but they want to give people this facade of them giving a shit. That's what it's for. Right? So if CP was legal, it would be okay. That, I mean, honestly, like the way he's saying this right now, it really does seem like that. As long as it doesn't break the law, I don't care if it's on my platform.
In policy. That's why I'm asking you that, not because...
Which part about content policy says that we should delete?
That's the funny thing. Yeah, as Trans Girl Jade said, he doesn't allow everything, though. He was banning people for using the word cis because he thinks it's a slur. So it's okay to say shit that he agrees with or he views as acceptable. But if you say something that doesn't align with his own worldview, then all of a sudden it's a slur and it's not allowed. That's not protected speech. You can say the N-word on X. You can say anti-Semitic shit on X. You can say homophobic and transphobic shit on X and other discriminatory things. But once it doesn't align with his worldview, then all of a sudden it's a slur and it's not allowed.
These things?
Your content policy talks about hate speech.
Yes, we don't promote hate speech.
And so you don't consider that hate speech?
I guess you're not understanding what I'm saying. There's if there's you can find like you can sign up right now and do 100 things that are hateful, but if nobody reads it, it doesn't matter. So you can think of X as being, it's much like the internet.
But that's not true though, Elon. That is not fucking true. You have several people who are saying genuinely hateful shit who are getting tons of engagement on the platform. We saw on your Twitter earlier, you're literally signal boosting Matt Walsh, who is an insanely hateful fucking person. So for you to act like, oh, well, we can just kind of sweep the hate speech under the rug because nobody actually sees it. You know, nobody promotes those tweets. Those tweets get low engagement. That's not true. We can look at your own Twitter account and look at your own likes and your own retweets and your own quote tweets, the tweets that you're engaging with, to see that that's not fucking true.
It's not some tiny publication with like 20 articles a day. It's 500 million.
But everyone has the opportunity to read it.
So it's okay if it's hate speech that you're comfortable with engaging with. That's what I get from it then. If you're comfortable engaging with it, then it's fine. It's totally acceptable.
I think everyone has the opportunity to read the internet. Are you suggesting we should shut down the internet?
No, but you don't own the internet. I'm asking you about you and your responsibility and your platform. And so I see how you feel now. You don't agree. We don't agree on this.
Yes, you want censorship and I don't.
No, I don't want censorship at all.
Yes, you do.
No, I want responsibility. I think there.
You desperately want censorship.
No, if I want a censorship.
You want censorship so bad you can taste it.
No, that's not true. It's not true. I think that there's right and wrong. And I think that.
Wait, is that a Tesla in the background with bull horns on the hood? I'm sorry, but I think the kind of person who would put bull horns on the hood of their car wants a gas guzzling piece of machinery. I don't think they want an electric car. You know what I mean? Like what?
And I think that when you have a platform that's as big as yours and as powerful as yours and as influential as yours, and you are a person of consequence to the world with what you do, that there is a certain responsibility that goes along with what you have on your platform and what you put out to the world. And I think that's important. You don't see that responsibility.
I think we have a responsibility to adhere to the law, and if people want the law changed, they should talk to the electorate.
So it's literally like the terms of service doesn't actually matter. It doesn't actually mean anything. It literally means nothing. It's meaningless. It's like I said before, you can literally print out Twitter's terms of service in regards to hate speech onto toilet paper and wipe your ass with it, because that's what it's worth.
Talk to their elected representative and get the law changed, and then we will adhere to the law.
Okay.
But if you want us to go beyond the law, that is us deciding to be censors. And I'm against censorship. I'm in favor of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And freedom of speech only is relevant when people you don't like say things you don't like. Otherwise, it has no meaning.
But I do think that there should be.
Yeah, we've seen you try to, in your own words, censor people who say things you don't like. You said cis was a slur, and you wanted to ban people on your platform who use the term cis.
Guardrails. And I believe in free speech as much as you. I would fight. I don't disagree. I don't agree with a lot of what you put out on social media, but I will fight for your right to be able to say it.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so listen, let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, that's been a target of yours lately on X. There was a repost of Ben Shapiro that you claim that DEI is killing people. Specifically, you point to medicine. You claim that DEI programs are putting people at risk. Do you really believe this to be true? And what evidence do you have to support it?
What I was referring to there was that if we lower the standards for doctors, such so that they, if the test for a doctor is lowered, then the probability of them making a mistake and killing someone is obviously going to be higher.
Wait, say that again. I'm not sure I understand what you said. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Yes, if the standards for passing medical exams and becoming a doctor, or especially something like a surgeon, if the standards are lowered, then the probability that the surgeon will make a mistake is higher. They're making mistakes in their exam. They may make mistakes with people, and that may result in people dying.
What evidence do you have, though, that...
That's not what's happening, though. The standards for the education you have to get and the tests you have to take and, all of that shit, that's not... those standards still apply. What? These are racist talking points, by the way. Obviously.
They're lowering the standards. There's no evidence of that.
I believe there is.
There's no evidence of that, Elon. What is the
nice argument? Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck University, and that is what the article was referring to.
There's no evidence.
Saying they have not lowered the standards?
There's no evidence about lowering standards, and I think that there is.
Leave that as a false statement you're making.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out.
Again, I have to ask the question.
Nice argument. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Weasley little liar, dude.
Yeah,
I think
the interesting thing is when this is posted on the X platform, there will be a whole bunch of things that rebut what you said and what I said, and so people can then make their own decision based on the replies and the rebuttals and the community notes.
I think that's fair, but I do think that on this particular topic, I do think that you and Ben Shapiro are reaching in about this, because there was what Ben posted said that he gave instances of people who were deliberately harming people. Nowhere in the thread does Ben suggest at all, I should say, that anyone is being killed as a result of DEI. That's purely speculative. There's research on DEI and medicine, and there's no evidence that standards are being lowered.
Okay.
That DEI is affecting medicine. Actually, like
Okay,
only 5% of doctors are black, and a small percent.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll find that when this is posted to the X platform, that people will reply to it with evidence.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see.
Okay. So, but that's my whole thing about moderation. Maybe you're wrong, but you'll put it out there. You don't know if it's right. Do you think that your responsibility to make sure something is right before you, the person who owns it, Elon Musk, who's a huge figure in the world, that you should know that it's true, that there are people at X who can get research for you?
No, he doesn't think he has any responsibility. He doesn't believe he has any responsibility for any of this stuff. He doesn't. You can keep asking him that, Don, all you want, but he's already made his position very clear. He does not believe he has any responsibility as someone who basically owns a very large social media platform.
Before you put something out there like that, that's not necessarily true. Even in other examples.
If I say something that is inaccurate, I'm immediately corrected on the platform. That's the advantage of a real-time system like X. So there will be immediately in the replies people correcting me. There will be a community note that will correct me, which is attached to the actual post itself.
Do you think as many people read
Yes.
You think as many people read that as it reads your tweet?
Yes, in fact, and if there's a community note that happens later that where somebody didn't see, but they replied to that, interacted with that post, we will notify them that there is now a community note correcting that post.
Just so you know.
I will say this, I have definitely like seen where like I've engaged with like a tweet, previously, and like Twitter will later like give you a notification like, hey, we detected that you engaged with this tweet. It has a community note now. So this is true. It does do that. Having said that, when it comes to Elon, we have seen, as I mentioned before, examples of him posting bullshit and getting community noted for it. And then he deletes the tweet. He's a very like egotistical person that can't accept when he's wrong. So rather than admitting that he got something wrong, he's like, oh, my tweet got community noted, so now I have to like sweep it under the rug and hide it.
If you consider the conventional media, that doesn't happen. Conventional media makes false statements all the time and nobody ever hears the correction.
When I was in conventional media, I can only speak for myself. If I got something wrong, or if someone got something wrong on the platform that I was on, it was corrected, and we made sure that it was corrected. Now, I can't speak for anyone else.
I don't think that's a universal situation.
Okay. So I just the research, so when you talk, do you believe that people are dying because medical standards, DEI is causing medical standards to be lowered? Do you actually believe people are dying because of that?
I believe that if we lower the standards for what it takes to become a doctor.
You're saying if we lower the standards,
Yes.
but do you believe people are dying because the standards are being lowered?
I don't think that is yet an issue, but it could become an issue.
This is what I have to say to that.
Nice argument. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
I fucking hate everyone.
Okay. But the actual evidence in history shows the exact opposite. If you look at how minorities were treated by the medical system, most doctors now are white. And there are lots of mistakes in medicine. So you're saying that white doctors have bad medical care? I'm trying to understand your logic here when it comes to DEI, because there's no actual evidence of what you're saying.
Right.
No, I said, so if the standards, like let's say, I think that particular thing was referring to surgeons. Let's say a surgeon is asked to, a surgeon in training is asked to do a series of operations under the supervision of a senior surgeon, and they get a bunch of those operations wrong. If that happens, and yet they are still approved to be a surgeon, the probability that someone will die, I think, at some point is high.
Okay.
I don't think if somebody was making that many mistakes while they were under the supervision of a surgeon, like they're still in the process of, I don't know what it takes to become a doctor. Obviously, there's a lot of schooling involved and stuff like that. But I feel like if you're still within that period where you're still learning, and you haven't fully become a doctor yet, if you're fucking up that much, you're not going to be allowed to be a doctor. Like, it's very fucking simple that if you're bad at being a doctor, you will not be a doctor. Like,
Okay, I understand that, but that's a hypothetical. That doesn't mean it's happening.
I didn't say it's happening.
You didn't say it was happening.
I said it will. I said if we lower standards, people.
But nobody's doing that.
But why respond to something or put something out there that has not happened?
Right.
Because I could say,
Because I don't want it to happen. I think we don't want to lower standards.
Okay, if you look
nobody's
at the history
nobody's
of the medical
advocating for that.
industry, especially when it comes to Black Americans, it shows the exact opposite. If you look at the Tuskegee experiment and on, only 5% of doctors in America are Black. All of them are white. So are you saying that if the majority of doctors are white, are you saying that and there are still these inequities, right? And there's still mistakes. Are you blaming DEI for that?
No, I'm very basically saying that if we lower standards for what it takes to become.
But you were asked, you responded with these answers in connection to questions about DEI. Okay, so you're making a connection for some reason in your brain that DEI means lower standards. And in this particular example, in the area of healthcare. So why are you so confused why he's like grilling you this way when like that was your response to a question about DEI?
A board certified surgeon or an oncologist or something where the kind of disease we're talking about, if you make a mistake causes someone to die, then they're more.
What's the connection? The obvious connection is that in your mind you think that if more Black people become doctors or more other like minority groups become doctors, that you think it's going to lower the standard of healthcare. You, for whatever reason, don't think that, a Black person or, another minority group is capable of being a good doctor. Like, you don't want to say that because it sounds bad, but that's what you're saying.
People will die then if we don't lower the standards. Therefore, we should not lower the standards.
But why do you think they're lowering the standards for minority doctors or women doctors or?
That's what that's what that article suggested. Yes, at Duke University.
Okay. The evidence that I have shows that that's not true.
Okay.
So listen, after the door blew off this mid-flight, this Alaskan Airlines flight, do you remember that? You responded to a post claiming that the average HBCU grad was less intelligent than the average airline pilot, and stated that it will take an airplane crashing and killing hundreds of people for them to change this crazy policy of DIE. I don't know if did you misspell it on purpose, which it should be DEI. Do you believe that women and minority pilots are inherently less intelligent and less skilled than white male pilots?
Oh
no, I'm just saying that we should not lower the standards for them.
But why does that lower the standards? Unless you think that women or minority groups are incapable of doing a good job, like, why is that lowering the standards? We know what you're saying, but you don't want to completely take the mask off. You don't want to completely let the mask slip because you know that looks bad.
Okay.
Thank you, Purple J.
But there's no evidence that standards are being lowered when it comes to the airline industry.
You've repeatedly said that there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, and watch the replies showing all the evidence that it is.
Replies, though, on social media or on Twitter are not necessarily fact and evidence.
No,
that's people's opinion.
They will cite the reply. In the replies to this, you will see how often this.
Yeah, he wants to let the mask slip just a little bit. He doesn't want to fully take it off and say that I don't think that minority groups are capable of like doing good work. But he just lets it slip a little bit. Like, oh no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we shouldn't lower, the quality of work. How does that happen though? Unless you believe that minorities are not, capable, or women are not capable of doing good work. How does that happen though? Explain and give us a source.
Nice argument. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
So the information is cited showing that indeed there are significant cases where standards are lowered.
And I do hope that happens. I do hope that happens, and I look forward to it. And as you said, if you're wrong, then you're wrong, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
Yes.
Okay. So and I'm glad we're having this conversation, debating. This is what we should be doing, debating the issue. So if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and then they'll be proven in the thing, and you as well. But I just want to tell you that pilot that you talked about, in fact, was a woman pilot, landed the plane safely despite the major malfunction with the equipment. Boeing has taken responsibility for that incident, saying that it was caused by a faulty door panel. So I'm not sure what that had to do with lowering the standards for pilots when it was a faulty...
No, it's not lowering standards for pilots. It's the incentive structure, I believe, at Boeing changed to include DEI.
Don has the patience of a saint. Yeah, I mean, like... Yeah, I feel like anybody else would have lost their fucking mind by now.
As a fundamental executive incentive. But in my view, it should be purely about passenger safety.
Okay, but do you understand how by saying just that standards are being lowered, that you're implying that they're being lowered because people are less skilled and less intelligent, and you're talking about people of color and or women?
Look, I'm saying we should not lower standards.
But you don't...
That's it.
I think everyone can agree that you can't.
Come on, dude. Like, what the fuck? What are you supposed to take away from that? Come on, my guy.
You shouldn't lower standards.
Oh my God.
I fucking hate everyone.
I will happily dab up with the Nazis.
Great.
But you're implying that they're lowering standards because of people of color or women, because someone is not a white male. You're saying that they're less skilled and less intelligent. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that they are.
Then why would they be lowering the standards?
I don't know. Why are they lowering the standards?
Just so you know, 5% of pilots are female, 4% are black. So you're talking about this widespread takeover of minorities and women when that's not actually true.
I'm not saying there's a widespread takeover.
Well, you're saying that the standards are being lowered because of certain people. And you don't believe in DEI, right? Do you not believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I think we should be treat people according to their skills and their integrity, and that's it.
Do you know that studies show?
Studies show.
Yeah. Well, we can look them up. So your reaction?
Oh man, we know how much you dislike sources, Elon, because you're not willing to give us a source of any of the ridiculous claims that you're making. But Don here has sources to back up what he says, and that's very triggering for you.
Nice argument. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Very interesting.
Studies show and understand, right? Because I always like to point to an exact study, right?
Sure.
Something that is factual. It's the same thing when you talk about, well, let's see what the replies are on Twitter or on X.
Yeah, so
I feel the same.
That's a very terminally online way of thinking of things. I must be more right because I get, positive reinforcement on social media, or I get more likes on social media, therefore I'm right. Like, that's a very terminally online way of thinking of things. You're right because more people agree with you. And like, if you've ever seen people that have a lot of influence on social media, you don't have to be intelligent to gain a platform of influence on social media. There are plenty of very, very stupid people who have very large platforms on social media. So like, it's an extremely terminally online way of thinking of things. I get more likes and I get more positive reinforcement on social media. Therefore, I'm more right.
I feel the same way about that. But this is what studies have shown, and people will reply and they'll say that companies with more diversity and their leadership teams have reported higher innovation rates than those with lower diversity or low diversity. And they're better companies and they make more money. This whole idea about DEI, if you go woke or whatever, you go broke, that's not necessarily true. People with diverse leadership teams.
Get woke, go broke is such a cope. I accidentally rhymed that, and that wasn't even intentional. But, like, seriously, get woke, go broke is such a cope, because you'll see, like, people like, the Quartering, or like Melanie Mac, or like Geeks and Gamers, and like, all these people talk about how, like, if you go woke, you go broke. But, like, so many of these, like, films that are like woke or whatever, like they smash it in like the box office. Video games that supposedly go woke, they do insanely well in terms of sales, right? And I'm not necessarily saying that going woke is what made these things do that. If it's a good movie or if it's a good game or, something along those lines, that's what makes those things successful. But like this notion that like, if you go woke, you go broke, it's just not true. Maybe there's a one-off here and there where that's like different, but for the most part, for the most part, so many of the things that these people will say, they've gone woke, so they're going to go broke. It doesn't happen. It doesn't fucking happen.
Teams and diverse workers make more money and more innovative.
Like I said, my view is that the only basis for promoting somebody should be their skills, talents, and their integrity, and that's it.
I want to ask you about
I mean, that still applies. Like this whole like diversity, inclusion, and DEI or whatever the fuck it's called. I always forget what all the letters stand for, but diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what it is. Okay, I kind of brain fart for a second. It's not necessarily like the way that right wingers want you to believe that means is just like, oh, well, we have to fit like a quota of like, we need this many people of color to work for our company. We need this many gay people to work for our company, this many women, etc. That's what they want you to think. But that's not exactly like how it is. Okay. All it refers to is like, hey, don't discriminate against people because they're part of a minority group. That's all it is. When you're hiring people, don't like toss out all the applications from like the black people or the gay people, or like, don't do that. That's all that means. Okay. Nobody's getting chosen because like, you know what? This person would be the better candidate for the job, but we don't have enough black people that work for us. So we're going to give the job to the black guy who's not qualified instead. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. But in typical, right-winger fashion, they will lie to you and tell you that that's how it works. Because it fits their fucking narrative.
Federal government, EEOC, they are also currently involved in a lawsuit against Tesla that alleges that there's a history of widespread racial harassment against black Tesla employees, as well as a pattern of retaliation for speaking out. What do you say to that?
Yikes.
Well, I don't believe that is true. I think we've got a very good, like if you walk around the Tesla Fremont plant, I think it's a very good atmosphere. In fact, I practically lived there for 3 years trying to make the production work.
Were you aware, if you lived there, were you aware of such behavior?
I never saw it.
So you're saying that this is not true, it's not happening?
Well, I mean, there's over 20,000 people. So you say, like, if there's over 20,000 people in one building, well, is everyone going to behave perfectly? No. Did I see any situations that I thought were improper? I did not.
Let's talk about trans rights and the woke mind.
Griffin J1 in the chat says, I lived it. It's real no matter what you think. When you say that you lived it, what does that mean? Does that mean that like you applied for a job and you didn't get it because they chose a minority over you? If I had to guess why that happened, it's probably because you suck and you weren't the person who was more qualified for the position. That sounds like a skill issue to me. That doesn't sound like an issue where, oh, we had to fill out some kind of diversity quota and therefore we hired a minority over you. That sounds like you just suck at life and maybe you need to get better at life. It's a skill issue. Get good.
And virus, because you talk about that a lot. You're right about that a lot on the thing. You have been deeply outspoken about the issue of trans rights. You posted trans rights. You posted that pronouns in bio mean the woke mind virus ate your brain. Do you know what the term woke actually means?
It's come to mean a lot of things.
I'm sorry, but like if you use terms like woke mind virus unironically, I can't take you seriously. I genuinely cannot take you seriously.
What originally it was meant to mean. It's just being aware of inequities in society and being aware of facts and history.
Yeah, I think it's come to be, I think being aware of inequities in society is fine, of course. But trying to blame everything trying to make everything a race issue is, I think, divisive and corrosive to society.
Even as it relates to trans issues, which is what I'm...
Yeah, race or, gender or whatever.
You think that society blames everything on racism now?
It blames a lot of things on it, and, yeah.
You think that's unfair?
Yeah.
Why?
I think we should not make this a constant subject. I think we need to move on.
Why? I mean, like, if it's still a problem in society, and it has been observed that in many ways it still is. I mean, if you want to take just one example, police brutality against minority groups is still very much a problem in society. So why should we sweep these issues under the rug and pretend like they don't exist, just because it's not something that I guess matters to you? You think that we should just pretend it's a non-issue, that racism is not still a very real problem that we deal with in our society. You just want to pretend it doesn't exist because that's convenient for you, I guess. Okay.
I think we just, treat people like people.
I agree. We should treat people like people. But you advocate for a lot of things that doesn't do that. You have signal boosted things on your platform that do not do that.
Don't agree that this country was founded on racism and founded on slavery and in many ways inequities that still continue on to this day.
I think every country at that time, and I think even today, was extremely racist. Every country. Obviously, slavery was present in about half of this country, but was not present in the north. There was racism for sure, but I think we want to look to the future rather than the past,
so you just want to pretend like. You want to pretend that like these things aren't still a problem. That's what I gather from that. He wants to pretend like these things aren't still an issue, even though they very much still are. Yeah, like slavery isn't a thing anymore, right? And, things of that nature. We've, over time, we've made progress, but that doesn't mean it's not a problem anymore. There still very much is issues with racial inequality in this country. Issues with racism and discrimination against other minority groups in this country. It's still a very real issue. We can't just I'm all for looking to the future and thinking like, hey, this is where we can improve and this is where we can do better and this is how society can change for the greater good of everyone. But that doesn't mean completely ignoring the issues that we still have that exist today. Part of how you get to that future, that better future for everyone, is by acknowledging that problems exist today that need to be fixed. You can't just sweep them under the rug.
Of engaging in constant rehashing of the past, because in fact, if you look at history, if you study history broadly, everyone was a slave. Everyone.
Yes. Well, not everyone was a slave.
No,
but
everyone was a slave.
Okay, but
we are all descended from slaves.
Yeah.
Well, all of us.
Yeah.
It's just a question of when. Was it more recent or less recent? That's it.
Right.
But what future do we want? Is this something we want to make a part of our constant dialogue forever, or do we want to say like let's just move on and treat everyone, according to just who they are as an individual?
I agree with you with that. That's the ideal.
I genuinely need a break.
Hold on, retard break. I need a retard break. Give me a retard break for like 2 fucking minutes, okay? I can't keep listening to fucking retards.
I'll be back. I am back. I needed a brief break after this craziness, but we're so close to the end. We've got about 10 minutes left. Oh, let's get this over with.
But what the evidence shows is that that's not what's actually in practice.
I think we're doing better than anywhere else.
That's true. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean a lot to a whole lot of people who are able to take advantage of the opportunities that you were able to take advantage of, simply because the color of your skin.
What advantages did my color of my skin give me?
Well, there's an ease that you have in society that many people of color don't. You were able to come to this country voluntarily. There are many people who were not able to come to the country voluntarily. There are people who came here as slaves.
For me to come here.
And there is a legacy of slavery that still continues on. There's a legacy of racism that still continues on in this country. That's undeniable.
Well, if we keep...
Pika, you're back. How's the interview been? It's been a complete and utter clusterfuck. It's been absolutely fucking terrible.
Talking about it nonstop. It will never.
Like, I thought the interview where he was like, you know, under the influence of something, very clearly under the influence of something, and he like basically told advertisers like, fuck you. I thought that was a bad interview. This one's so much worse.
Never go away. If we keep making that the central thing, it will never go away.
Well, why do you believe that?
I think I'm just making a simple statement of fact. So I think we want to get away from making everything a race or a gender or whatever issue, and just treat people like individuals.
Do you have any desire to understand what
I do? I agree that we should treat people like people, but like, you're speaking this as you use your platform to not treat people like people. That's one thing, right? That's one bit of hypocrisy there, as Winter Rose in the chat said. But again, like, the reality is that there are inequalities in our society directed at, you know, women and like other like minority groups and stuff like that. These things exist. Okay. And so like, if you want to get, let's say that Elon's being sincere when he says he wants to treat people like people. I have my doubts, but let's say, just for the benefit of the doubt or the sake of argument, he actually wants to treat people like people. The reality is there are still problems in society with these issues. We can't just pretend they don't exist. You don't get to that point of everybody being treated like a person, like an individual, without acknowledging the fact that some people aren't treated that way, because there are still issues in society. We need to work on fixing those things, and we need to acknowledge they exist in order to do that. We can't just pretend it doesn't exist.
But many people of color and even trans people, how they feel about this country and how they're treated in this country, if they say and they believe that they are treated a certain way in this country, why don't you believe them?
You cannot have a situation where someone is a self-described victim, and they just get to be that because that's how they feel.
I think that.
Okay, chat. If you happen to be a part of a minority group that's being discriminated against, Elon's view on that is that you're just self-victimizing yourself. You're calling yourself a self-described victim, and that just because you say that doesn't mean that you're actually a victim. I know, like, one of my admins, for example, in the chat is a trans woman, and there is a lot of, you know, rights that are being taken away from trans people in this country every day. How do you feel having Elon Musk tell you that, like, the issues that your, you know, fellow trans people are facing, they're non-existent? Trans people are just, you know, self-victimizing themselves. How does that make you feel? I'd imagine it feels really fucking shitty that you know the issues that trans people face, and you have this man right here, this very privileged man, telling you that those issues are non-existent, that you're just self-victimizing yourself. I bet you that makes you feel really fucking terrible.
That does happen in some cases, but not all cases. And I think that not understanding the history of the country, I think, is a real shame. Look,
We should understand the history of the country and other countries.
I've had incredible opportunities as a person of color.
Right.
But I've also been but I've also been discriminated against, and I know that I have. And I know that that's real. And for someone to say that that isn't happening, I should just move forward.
The Undercooked Collective, maybe if you hit his head with empathy, might click into place. No, he doesn't understand because, you know, he's refusing to acknowledge that he comes from a place of privilege. You know, I used to be someone who was very, you know, as much as I hate to admit it now, I used to be someone that was like, white privilege, like that seems like a stupid idea. Like, what do you mean? You know, like, what is white privilege? Like, I used to think it was a stupid fucking concept. But then when you actually like look into these things and you actually look at how society operates, yeah, there are people who have a position of privilege, and people like Elon Musk absolutely fall into that category. Not everybody has it as easy. And I'm not even just saying because he's wealthy. Obviously, his position of wealth gives him a lot of privilege for sure. But like, there are people that get discriminated against every day. They get passed over for opportunities every day because of the color of their skin or their sexuality or their, gender identity or various different reasons. Okay? We can't just pretend that people don't exist that have a position of privilege. This is a very true thing, right?
Or to not think about that and ignore the past is insulting.
I'm not saying it. Don, you keep putting words in my mouth. I'm not saying it's
I didn't say that you said it.
I'm saying that we want to. We as a country should move beyond the questions of race and gender, and we should treat people like individuals.
And also, yeah, Tippy, I used to be in the same vote. My evolution on my views of white privilege, that is. It's just it's something that when you look at it surface level, like when you listen to it on and this is the problem with things like dog whistles and stuff like that, is to the average normie person, they will hear something like that, and they'll think well, that sounds ridiculous. When you just look at it surface level and you just listen to it on surface level, it sounds ridiculous. But when you actually dig into, what does it mean to have white privilege? What does it mean to be in a position of privilege? When you actually dive into what that means, suddenly you're like, okay, well, actually, looks like there's some truth to this. This actually makes sense. But yeah, that's the problem with a lot of these, people, especially on the internet, who will take these terms and they'll hand wave them away that just sounds really stupid. It's on the surface level, yeah, it does sound kind of stupid. But when you dive into it, you actually dig in deep and you look into what does it mean to have a position of privilege, it makes a lot of sense.
And base our opinions on them on the their character and their skills.
I don't think that anyone will disagree with that.
Exactly.
All I'm saying is that that's not happening and is not equal for everyone.
Right.
Those opportunities don't happen for everyone. And I am a living example that they don't.
I always laugh too at people like Elon, for example, who just want to pretend the past didn't exist. Okay, that's the past. Let's just move forward. And what I don't know if they're just being blatantly dishonest or if they're just stupid and they don't realize it, but the past has influence on things that happen today. Okay, just because slavery doesn't exist anymore doesn't mean there aren't still racial inequalities within our country that need to be addressed. Okay, things that happened in the past very much influence the current landscape that we live in, the current society that we live in. So you can't ignore the past. You have to acknowledge it and you have to learn from it so we can get to a better position in the future. Okay? But they just want to ignore it and pretend like it doesn't have an impact on the world we live in today.
Know that they don't because I live it.
You've been incredibly successful.
I have been, and in spite of it all. But I know what I know. I've experienced what I've experienced. You haven't done that, and I cannot. I don't know what it's like to be from South Africa. I don't know what it's like to be a white man. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I don't know what it's like to be a Latino person. I don't know that. So I wouldn't speak for them and just say, you need to move on. That's not for me to say.
Right.
I believe that it would be great if the country could live up to that ideal. You think that everyone has the same opportunities in America, regardless of their background and ethnicity. Do you agree?
No, I don't think everyone has the same opportunities.
Okay. So
yeah, it's very disrespectful when you're speaking on the life experience of certain groups of people. It's one thing if you're speaking in support of a group of people, right? If you're somebody who's speaking in support of, people of color who've been discriminated against in the past, and you're speaking in support of them that, hey, I don't think that these racial inequalities should be, continue to exist against them. I think we need to work as a society to fix those things. I think that's a positive thing to speak in support of other groups of people. But then when you start trying to invalidate the life experience of those people, you're a person of color, just suck it up, buttercup. That's the past. And, all these inequalities that you say that you have, just suck it up and just work harder and you'll get what you want. I think that's a very disrespectful thing to do. Or if I was to say, as a cis man, talk to a trans person and say that, all these things that you say that are happening in society that discriminate against you or people are taking away your rights, your feelings don't matter. Then that's a really fucking shitty thing to do. If you want to support other minority groups, great. That's awesome. Go for it. I've always kind of been really critical of people on the left who will take someone who's speaking out in support of a minority group and they'll say, hey, you shouldn't speak for us. And it's like, well, no, I'm not speaking for you. I'm speaking in support of you. We shouldn't be, you know, scaring away people who are allies to you for one reason or another. But at the same time, we shouldn't be doing like what Elon's doing and trying to invalidate the feelings of these groups either. You know, it's very disrespectful. You haven't lived their life experience, so who are you to say that their life experience is invalid?
When you talk about, let's talk about trans rights. When you decided to talk about the trans rights movement, you said that it was a woke mind virus. Why do you believe the trans rights movement is a woke mind virus? What do you mean by woke mind virus?
Woke mind virus is when you stop caring about people's skills and their integrity, and you start focusing instead on gender and race and other things that are different from that. I think
is he trying to recycle his DEI talking points and use them in reference to trying to invalidate trans people? Because that's what he's doing when he talks about stuff like the woke mind virus in regards to the existence of trans people. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to invalidate their existence. But he's just trying to recycle the talking points he used for a completely different issue. Okay. He's not, you know, a lot of people herald this guy as like a very intelligent guy. He's not very smart at all, actually. He's a very, very dumb individual.
mind virus is fundamentally racist, fundamentally sexist, and fundamentally evil.
Okay.
And we've got a little bit more time, so you choose your question.
Okay,
okay. He's had enough at this point. He's had enough. He's getting over it now.
Thank you for that, but I would appreciate you answering these. I think it's important that we're doing this. I think it's important to the world.
Funny haha in the chat says retarded, if you will. Yeah, true.
As many of you know, I am retarded.
Very true. Very, very true.
Here, this especially what's going on in our country. The reason I ask you, listen, there are a whole lot of things that people maybe have questions about when it comes to transgender people. Even people who are part of the LGBTQ plus community have questions about that. But if you are a free speech absolutist, right, and that is part of the First Amendment, also the freedom of expression falls under that First Amendment as well. So why can't people choose to identify with the gender that they feel comfortable with, or with a use a pronoun? Isn't that part of freedom of expression?
That is a good fucking question. Yo, good point, Don. Good fucking point. Based.
I guess though they can ask others to do whatever they feel. They can ask others to do anything. It's a different question whether they mandate that others do that thing.
Okay, let's talk.
Man, what is
talking more about free speech and for advertisers, right? Because all this controversy, I believe, as you know, has made X less appealing to advertisers. About half of them have left the platform. You call advertisers that left X.com. You said they were oppressors. You've even gone as far as saying it publicly that they can go F themselves or go fuck themselves.
If they're going to force censorship on the company before advertising, then obviously I find that unacceptable.
You find it unacceptable. Why is that not?
It's funny, like so many of the ads that like I've seen on Twitter now, they're ads for like cryptocurrency companies, and they're ads for like drop shipping companies. There's a lot of sex toy ads on X as well. I've seen a ton of ads for sex toys, which nothing wrong with sex toys. I mean, hey, you know, perfectly fine. But it's interesting seeing like Twitter go from a platform that had big advertisers like Coke and Pepsi and Apple and Nintendo and like all these like big brand names that you see on platforms like, you know, Twitch or like you see on YouTube or like other platforms like that. But you're just getting the most obscure advertisers that you would never see on any other platform. Those are the kind of people who are advertising on X, because it's like the bottom of the barrel. Those are the only people who will buy ad space on X now.
A form of free speech. They are free to advertise where they want. They're not beholden to, they're not obligated to advertise on X.com.
Right.
So how is that not free speech?
That's whereas the other platforms will censor on behalf of advertisers, the X platform will not.
Okay. So, but you think you don't think it's okay for them not to advertise with or have their content or their advertisement next to something that is anti-Semitic or...
That is a different question.
No, I don't think it is. The same way that like we as consumers can vote with our wallet if we decide we don't want to support a company because that company represents something we don't believe in. Like we've seen a lot of this with people who are pro-Palestine, for example. They have boycotted certain companies that provide funding or benefit Israel in some way. We've seen people that will boycott those companies because they're voting with their dollars, right? They're voting with their wallet that I don't want to support a company that supports this kind of thing. And corporations will do the same thing, right? This platform allows hate speech and bigotry to thrive on its platform, and we don't want our brand associated with that. So the same way that like any citizen can vote with their dollars and not support a company that stands by something that they don't believe in, these corporations can do the exact same thing. And that's what's happening. They've decided, Nazis are very prevalent on, Twitter now, ever since Elon took over. Hate speech is very prominent on the platform. The guy who runs the platform says some really fucked up shit himself. We don't want our brand aligned with this sort of thing. And so that's what they're doing. This isn't about censorship. This is about them making a brand conscious decision. This does not align with our brand, and we don't want to associate with that. Right?
You can absolutely choose where next to which content do you want your advertising to appear. Absolutely, of course. And we have, I think, very good ad placement controls in this regard.
Yeah. So you said if they kill the company, it's them. But doesn't the buck stop with you? I mean, you're
on. I have to say, choose your question carefully. There's 5 minutes left.
Okay, but
he's done. He's done. It's Jover. It's so Jover.
I feel like I've outpaced him intellectually.
So
is this the question you want to ask?
The same question is you said that they are killing the company, but you're the head of the company. The buck doesn't stop with you?
I acquired X in order to preserve freedom of speech in America, the First Amendment. And I'm going to stick to that. And if that means making less money, so be it.
So I have to be, listen, I'm just being honest, right? I'm not trying to, get you or anything. I was just surprised that you would blame other people for killing the company. I mean, when you say the buck stops with
that's a good point, funny haha. I didn't think about that. Choose your question carefully. Look at him trying to be big and scary, shiver me timbers. Yeah, it comes off as very threatening, doesn't it? Choose your words carefully. I didn't think about that, but you're totally right.
President of the United States.
He's trying to exert some kind of dominance in the conversation, and he's just getting steamrolled.
Regardless of what happens, right? So, why would that question upset you? You seem upset by it, are you?
I think you.
And I'm not trying to upset you.
Well, you are upsetting me because the way you're phrasing the questions, I think, is not cogent.
It's not what?
Not cogent.
Cogent.
Yes.
Go ahead.
If given a choice where an advertiser is saying like you have to censor all this content on the platform, irrespective of where their advertising appears, then our answer will be like, look, you can choose where you want your advertising, what you want your advertising to appear.
Yeah, exactly. Elon, you are upsetting me.
You can shut the fuck up, bitch.
He's big mad. Big mad.
Next to, you can't insist on censorship of the entire platform. And if you insist on censorship of the entire platform, even where your advertising doesn't appear, then our obviously we will not want them as an advertiser.
So what would you say to advertisers who have left the platform or who are considering coming back or not coming back? What would you like to say to them?
Well, first of all, almost all of our advertisers are coming back to the platform. So it's a very...
By the way, I just realized this video has been crazy dislike bombed. Look at that shit. Look at that shit. All these like Elon Musk dick riders are so fucking mad. Let me go ahead and drop a like on it.
Short list of advertisers who are not coming back to the
This
platform.
was a genuinely good interview. Like no cap.
And
Don Lemon, and I got to be honest, I've never really, looked at any content by Don Lemon ever before. I've heard the name before, obviously, but I've never actually looked at any of his interviews or anything he does. But he really put Elon's feet to the fire on this one. Very well done.
Advertising revenue is rising rapidly, and our subscription revenue is rising rapidly, and I feel very optimistic about the future of the X platform.
Okay. Listen, honestly, I'm not meaning to offend you. You're an intense person. Where does that intensity come from?
I was born that way.
He's mad. Look at him. He's so angry.
Tough childhood.
You had a tough childhood. How? You came from wealth. How?
You did.
So, yeah.
How so?
Right, Walter Isaacson goes into it in the book, and we only have a couple minutes left, so...
All right.
Too long to describe. So the one or two questions I can do, and then we'll have to call it.
Okay. Again, I don't mean to upset you. Why are you just...
No, I have a whole room full of people waiting to meet with me.
Okay.
So we're just going over time.
Okay.
He's literally running. He's literally running.
All right, I understand that.
He's running.
What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude.
He's scared.
You act like a little bitch right now.
So when you talk about, you said you were born that way. Is that, did you think that the way that you see the world has to do with your relationship with anyone, perhaps your father or someone in your family?
I think we're all affected by the people we grow up with. My aspiration is to do whatever it takes to extend consciousness into the future.
He's getting tomato red. He really is. He's very red in the face. You can almost kind of see the veins bulging out of the side of it. He's mad.
That's my goal, to make life multiplanetary as part of extending consciousness into the future. Have
the past few years, and considering everything that's gone on, has it been difficult for you and your family life?
It's been okay.
So then, how do you see your legacy, Elon? How do you see how people see you in the...
First of all, I say that if I died knowing that I did what was right, or did my best to do what was right, and even if in the history books they said I did wrong, I would still feel okay about that. I care about the reality of goodness, not the perception of it. I think we should view civilization as tenuous, as fragile. If you do study history broadly, you'll see that there's a rise and fall to civilizations. They don't always go up. So we should do everything we possibly can to preserve and extend civilization as we know it.
Yeah.
And improve it.
Oh my God. The Undead Legacy of our collective in the chat says, Elon's legacy, a man baby that builds exploding cars. Oh my God.
It's become more enlightened over time. And we therefore want to address civilizational risks. We want to make sure that we don't have, for example, demographic collapse, which is the case in a lot of countries, just very low birth rate. We want to obviously avoid World War III, anything that is a civilizational risk. That's what I care about, civilizational risks. How do we extend consciousness into the future such that we are able to better understand the nature of reality? Yeah. That's what I care about. That's my motivation.
I know you have to go. If you'll just give me, I'll do a rapid fire thing here. Is there anything that you would change about anything that you've done in your life in the past or recently?
I've made many mistakes over the years. If I had a time machine, I'd go back and fix them. But I don't have a time machine.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
He was in such a hurry to get out of there. He was a shivering bitch. Beta.
That's it. And as Elon would say, you be the judge. Let me tell you something about this show. The conversation doesn't end just because the camera stops. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Damn.
Thanks for watching the Don Lemon.
That was so much better than I thought. Like, you know, Trans Girl Jade, I asked them at the start of the stream if, you know, this was worse than the other interview where they, you know, basically told advertisers to fuck off and said a bunch of other unhinged shit. And I didn't believe them. I hate to admit it, Trans Girl Jade, but in my mind, it was going to be very difficult to do an interview that was more unhinged than that one. But I got to be honest, Trans Girl Jade was absolutely right. This one was far worse than the other one. What do you even say to this? I'm at a genuine loss for words of how absolutely insane this was. So
what a fucking Weasley little liar, dude.
True, allegedly, Angelo. But yeah, that's the interview with Don Lemon and Elon Musk. What can you say? I think it speaks for itself.
Play that shit! Tipster! A good dude! Tipster!